Hello, welcome to episode 39 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast, with your host Mark and myself, Paul. Today's show is sponsored by Manscaped. Manscaped, proud sponsor of Celtic Rumours TV, where the big boys hang out. They have forever changed grooming for their Performance Package 3.0 head to toe. This is the ultimate male hygiene burden. The Performance Package 3.0 comes with a lawnmower, weed whacker and formulations to round out the grooming routine. Bring your boys back to life and in the game for the full 90 minutes. You've probably heard of the 3.0 Accurate Buzz trimmer ever created. This is the best trimmer on the market for those in need of the shave for your testes. The third generation trimmer features cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to the advanced Skpe technology pioneered by Manscaped. There's even a LED light so that you can see everything you're doing down there. Also includes the weed whacker, ears and nose trimmer, waterproof, uses 9000 RPM motor powered 360 degrees rotary dual blade system. The nose and ball trimmer provides skin safe technology which helps prevent nicks, knacks, tugs, and in those delicate holes. Look, fellas, 79% of our partners pros admitted that long nose hairs is a major turn off. Why not get the best tools for the job here? And don't forget the liquid formulations to round off the grooming game in performance packages. There's a crop cleanser body wash to keep your hair and skin feel healthy. You'll also find Manscaped products with ball deodorant, anti-chafing, ball deodorant, moisturizer. You'll also find crop preserver, ball toner, a testes toner. That is be dying to give you an extra boost you need to get the job done. Hair and the balls toner for your testes toner designed to give everything you need to get the job done in the pitch. Look clean as the well groomed is all time great. Stay for Beck and get 20% off free shipping with our code CelticT. Rumours TV at manscaped.com. Choose Manscaped, your balls will thank you for it. On today's show, we'll take a look at the latest gospel rumours around Celtic. We'll talk about yesterday's pre-season against West Ham. We look at the second leg again for the qualifiers, and of course we'll be looking through the live chat. So if there's anything you wish us to discuss on tonight's show, please let us know. Firstly, Mark, for future rounds.
Thanks very much, Paul. The link to the Manscaped site is in the description below. Just a quick shout outs to the usual suspects: Richie, Malika, Tim Alloy, Ben, Mikey, still in crutches. I was talking to him earlier on, he's still getting some serious pain in his legs. So get well soon, lads. And Malika, you have a great time when you get meet up your brother. About 451 subs, but that's just brilliant. So thanks very much everyone for that. All the support that he is on here and on the forum. Thanks. If you haven't subscribed, please remember to smash the like button. Did you mention the forums address here, Paul?
No, that's later on in the guests.
Just while we were doing it, I was going to mention things like the Discord group and things needed, but the links for all our social medias and everything's in the description box below. There's a link that says Linktree. If you go into that, it gives you links to everything: our Twitter page, the Discord, Spotify, iTunes, the audio podcasting platforms and that. So if you want to come along and join the Discord group or follow us, we don't really do much on Twitter, but if you want to follow us and that, you're more than welcome.
Firstly, before we go to Celtic Rumours TV, Celtic Rumours or Gossip, I just want to say something for Mark. Mark's sister had an accident the other day and she needs an operation. We wish her well and I hope she goes well, Mark, and I presume I'm thinking of her and all the lads on the live chat when they join will be thinking of your sister as well.
Very much, Paul. Thanks a lot, mate.
Leeds are open talks with highly rated Celtic youngster Leo Helda. Celtic are reported to have offered Leo a new improved contract to fend off interest from Leeds. Celtic cannot afford to lose another highly rated player and slip through the ranks again. Celtic are no closer to landing George Balder. It's being reported back in June that Celtic were interested in signing the Sheffield United right back, but no offer or no contact has been made for the player. At this point, Celtic are targeting Man City's youngster right back Jan Coutu. Jan is yet to make his first time team appearance for Man City. The youngster was on loan at last season's Spanish Club winner and is highly regarded within the Manchester City youth system. Celtic are hoping to use previous interest with Man City and are hoping that they can land a player on a loan for next season. It's being reported that Celtic have made a £2.1 million offer for Royal Antwerp right back Huta. Celtic manager has made no secret that the right back position needs reinforcements as soon as possible. That's it tonight for tonight's gossip and rumours. But before we move on to the next topic, Mark will just give us an insight into Edouard's situation at Celtic at the moment. Mark?
Right, well, West Ham have inquired with Edward's agent about availability, but Edward is apparently not keen on the move. They've been open to move to Leicester. They'd also inquired with his agent, but they've opted for that Patson Daka, who to me is a better player than Edward, to be fair, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, there's no offers on the table, but Celtic will listen to quote unquote a significant offer. Arsenal see the player as a Lacazette replacement. He's no longer top of the list. Crystal Palace were interested, but that may wait if Christian Benteke agrees an extension with him. If that and Fenerbahce opted for another player rather than Benteke, but don't rule Crystal Palace or Brighton out. Aston Villa and Brentford may offer an option if players leave, but it would be doubtful for a player with interest in such sides. Tentative interest of Napoli, Milan and Roma has gone after he was offered around Italy, and French sides have been offered him, but there's no interest in him at all in France. So,
Do you think, Mark, his highly rated tag has been dropped maybe over last season?
seems to be, Paul. He doesn't seem to be getting matches
No,
as he did this time last year.
because like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, Mark, we had Chelsea, we had like some Manchester United being reported scouting him and stuff like that before United went away and got Cavani. They were sniffing around Edouard as well, like, and I think
I mean,
he's like
even though he
he,
finished top goal scorer in Scotland, I mean, finishing top goal scorer in Scotland isn't a great feat. Although he's finished top goal scorer in Scotland, but if you were a scout and get sent to watch him, Paul, would you have went back with glowing reports?
no, not last season. You'll obviously have to mention his lack of effort marking games as well, wouldn't you?
I mean, I was thinking that clubs would look at him and look at his past and say, look, we know there's a player there. Whatever the problems are going on at Celtic, we know there's still a good player in there. But it seems to, I don't know, maybe his attitude has become
An issue for yeah,
an issue for him. Maybe he's got that
and
kind of.
even his home country, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, well, that was really surprising because he had a really good reputation when he was
because
playing in the French
I
under
was
21s
expecting
and that.
him to be, I was expecting him to be in the Olympic squad for France, and he was being. It was being said there during the summer that Celtic would miss him for the qualifiers, and I was expecting then for him to be missing for the qualifiers, and then maybe being sold because he might have a good Olympics, but he's not even in the Olympics, Mark. So there's something really going on with Edouard at the moment. If teams aren't looking at him,
I still think he'll go, Paul. I still think, we spoke about it last night, there's still a long way to go in the window.
yeah,
You know,
like
people like to go and so speaking about first choices and that. So Edward will be on lists somewhere.
mhm.
Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of thing. So
Like,
I
I'm
still do
surprised
think
he's
he'll
not
be here.
looking at West Ham, like because of all the teams that are kind of interested in Mark.
I,
West Ham would be the destination I would go to.
I just thought that as well. I don't know why you doesn't fancy that. Even as I moved into London as well, kind of, it's one of the big cities in the world. And don't maybe
Hmm.
doesn't think. I mean, well, if he was home to move to Leicester, I mean, for me, Leicester and West Ham are about the same level.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Maybe
I think
get
looking at West Ham yesterday, Mark, like David Moyes has them well sorted out for next season. I mean, like they've placed to come back as well. Like, and West Ham will be a strong team next season down in the Premier League under David Moyes again.
oh, definitely. They'll still be chasing European places and that next season. They're getting to Europe this season, aren't they?
Hmm.
They're in the
Europa
Europa
League,
League.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they were pushing for a Champions League spot for a long time. They only missed
yeah.
out with a few points.
That was when they were kind of drawing a few games when Antonio got injured there last season, and they started kind of dropping points when he wasn't playing. But it just shows, Mark, that you kind of need two good strikers within your ranks as well, doesn't this? You know, in any team we need two good strikers.
If you're only playing with one up front, you need two in your squad. But uh, uh, we've not got that either, have we? I don't think
No,
we need two up front with us. But
no.
it's a weird one. It's like you wouldn't be interested. Well, we've seen Ayer going to Brentford.
As you said, Mark, that's a stepping stone. It's
Aye,
really just a stepping stone, like
and
Van Dijk and everything. You know what I mean?
and West Ham's a bigger setup. Do you know what I mean? A bigger step up than moving to Brentford is. You
Exactly.
think Edward even? You think if he's that confident in his own ability, he's going to a top half team in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I don't understand why he's no keen in that.
I don't. I really don't know, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Maybe West Ham can't offer him the wages maybe he wants. Do you know?
Oh, maybe it is down to the wages. Maybe
You know, because
they can afford the transfer fee, but not the wages he's
yeah,
looking for. It
because
could be that.
those two boys, O'Sullivan and David Goldmark are they're two Frouge chairmen as well. Them like these fellas will try to save every penny that they can as well. Like these two fellas, you know. Because I remember,
Oh, they don't
yeah,
they don't spend money that they don't need to. Or they don't feel they're getting value for their money.
exactly, and I think that's one of the best things that David Moyes did last season. Mark, he brought in players who weren't overly expensive and did the job for him. Like you know, what I mean, like we really did miss the boat, Mark, with the David Moyes. Didn't we? Like seeing what I saw of West Ham yesterday. Like, and I know his stakes were kind of down at that time when Celtic were linked to him, Mark, because he was kind of in and out of jobs since the Manchester. But it just shows if David Moyes is in a settled club and he's left do what he wants to do, he's one of the best managers out there.
Oh, he'll succeed.
Yeah.
And I've spoke to you before. I've said it, Paul. It's like if you're a manager of a team, you're right. You're maybe no. It's like if you're a manager of a team, say like Brentford. We're talking about the Ayer going to Brentford. You're going to when you're coming up against these other Premier League teams, you're going to play football a certain way because you know
Hmm.
they're better than you.
Exactly.
And to me, like a good manager will see what he's got adapt, and that's what Moyes seems to do. He done it at Everton, fair dues, Man
I
United.
remember he was at Everton, Mark, and I was told this about him that he'd look at the fixture list at the start of the season when it came out, and he kind of picked out games that he expected to win, and games and he kind of did up a tally of points that he wanted for the end of the season that would make Everton kind of a mid-table, which he did every year. So he kind of,
Moyes would have had see if Moyes had took over after Rodgers. Moyes would have kept his standards up at that level,
exactly.
and I'm not maybe even more because see that Everton, what is it they call it, the School of Science. Everton were one of the first ones to go all these computer equipment into, do you know what I mean? Starting using the data kind of systems in that pool. And
Hmm.
Moyes was part of that and helped nurture that and build that for Everton. So he'd have just come in and carried on the standards of Rodgers and actually I think Moyes would have changed things in the background a lot more.
And talking to you yesterday, Mark, when I was talking to you yesterday, I was at the other day, I was talking to you. You expected Moyes to be. You actually had him down to have the job after the cup final day. Didn't you? When you went to Mass then and you came back and you heard Lennon had the job that time?
When the final whistle blew, I said on my wee chat widget to the editors, right, that's I need to go, I'm going to Mass. And two said to me, what do you think of Davy Moyes, your new manager? And I said, oh, is he because he told me before that Moyes was just waiting on the phone call for Dermot Desmond. He had spoke to him, but he was just waiting for the phone call to kind of offer him the job officially. And I said, so is he definitely getting it? He was like, aye, well, job's his, it's meant to be if he wants it. And I went to Mass and I was sitting there and before Mass started, one of the guys I know came in and says, what about that then? And I was like, aye, Davy Moyes. And they were like, no. He says, I've given Neil Lennon it. And I couldn't believe it.
Jesus, that it was all down to Laurel that day, Mark.
Aye,
I
and
definitely want that.
as I've said, even I've speaking to Mikey earlier on about it too. See, and he tells me that I take it as kind of gospel. If it's not right to spot on, it's just a wee bit out. Do you get what I mean?
There's something to it, Mark. Yeah.
Well, it too tell me that Brendan Rodgers was coming to Celtic. And I
Wow.
think a lot of the guys on the forum had money on him quite early doors. It was a case of then it was Brendan Rodgers' job if he
I think
wanted it.
that's why. I think that's why they're all on the phone asking you to give them transfer targets so they can put a bet.
Tim Alloy said he won money out, he'd put money on Rodgers, and another couple of guys said it just because, do you know what I mean, sir? But Ed too was saying about Moyes, I kind of thought that was going to be it. And what I was saying there about people going about the way he plays football and all, but it would lend, like, nurture his game and change the way he plays when he's at a club like Celtic. They're expected to be in the front foot. He's got the best players in the league to work with and to play with. He's no GOAT players that aren't quite the top levels. You need to play a certain way to get results. He could come up here, do you know what I mean, learn
I
himself.
think he went to. I think what happened to Moyes as well, Mark. He went to Manchester United at the wrong time, straight after Alex Ferguson won this. It was at the wrong time, and players were at the end of their careers as well. You had Vidic and Ford, and they're all coming to an end. They're well, like
Ferguson that pushed for that.
yeah, yeah. He should have been
A lot of people,
given time at least. Like
a lot of people said that was Ferguson kind of protecting his own legacy.
oh, probably could be Mark. Yeah.
Aye, because we know Ferguson's got a bit of an ego about him, but
Mhm.
plus as well, he's still hanging about. For me, that's a kind of Peter Lowell thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Ferguson's still hanging about Manchester United, and from what I've heard, he's still got a bit of a say in what goes on and
Oh
things.
yeah, definitely. Especially now with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer there, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't think you would have had that with Van Gaal or Jose Mourinho, but with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer there, no, Mark, I think Fox definitely has a hand in there.
They're
You
another
know,
club that's needing gutted for top to bottom, Man United.
without doubt, without doubt. Sure, their fans aren't happy either with these the Glaciers involved. Those protests against Liverpool that time, Mark, of the Super League. Do you know what I mean they could have shut down the whole of Manchester like the fans did like that time.
But I
You
can,
know?
they've been protesting against the Glazers for years because
Mm-hmm.
it was down to the way they bought the club. They bought the club on.
And debt or something like that.
They borrowed money to buy the club and then used the club's money to pay back the debt.
Uh,
But I mean, listen, I mean, it's crazy weak figures we're talking about. These kind of loans and bonds, I think it is they actually call them, Paul.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, Man United are still one of the top spending teams in the world. They spent over £1 billion in the last so many years and that. Imagine what they would have to spend if it hadn't been
Exactly.
with that debt, and that again gets back to Ferguson's ego because all that became about or that racehorse that he fell out with the Coolmore Mafia about the Rock of
Yeah.
Gibraltar. That was what I mean. That's what kind of broke Man United. They wanted out of Ferguson wasn't going. They were going, and they did. They sailed up to the Glazers.
Jesus. So I think we'll move on from that. Now we're moving on. We're going to talk about Celtic's demolition loss against West Ham yesterday at Parkhead. As you know, the game finished Celtic 2, West Ham 6. Now, now we all know that this is the start of pre-season. We all knew that our defence wasn't good enough, and young Welch and young Dane Murray came up against a striker who can turn defences, Mark, in the Premier League. Antonio on his day, Mark. But when I watched the Premier League, like this guy, Mark, can turn any defenders, Mark. Do you know what I mean? And
Surprised he's still at West Ham, to be honest.
yeah, and it came no surprise to me yesterday, Mark, how he turned our young defence. It wasn't something that I wasn't expecting. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
Like this fella, Mark, you could see the different class yesterday, Mark, in a Premier League team in Celtic, really. Do you know? You had better players that did better.
So especially as we're talking about it, considering the defence that we've had to hobble together for it. I mean, people maybe think I was just making excuses now, right? I said pre-season games aren't that important. We did take a pummeling, there's a bit of a neck, but there's no way that's going to be our defence going forward. So
No,
that's what my point was. Just move.
and that's why.
Wait to
That's why.
wait to see
Yeah,
what the team runs out. And, well, it's not going to change much for Wednesday, but wait to see what the team is next week against Hearts. With
yeah,
Starship, well, hopefully
exactly.
Felt's in the team.
Exactly. But that's why I don't want to.
Hopefully we got a right back in. Hopefully tomorrow, Tuesday, to get them training
Exactly.
up to speed for.
Exactly. So that's why I'm not going to kind of concentrate really, Mark, on the likes of young Dane Murray. Like the lad's only 19, Mark. Do you know what I mean? He's still learning his trade. Like and
Up against Premier.
exactly like if anyone like that poor boy was put in a position, Mark, when he should be put in a position, really. Do you know what I mean? Like we're always saying, look, best thing about Mark is he has a pathway. Now he's in around the first team and he can learn on the.
And I'm glad that a lot of the fans aren't singling the young boy Murray out for a lot of the grief. Because I've
No.
said that before, you can't, young players are going to make mistakes. That young
Hmm.
boy's playing what his second or third game for Celtic against a Premier League team, right? Fair dues, it's a friendly, but it's still the skill and the difference, as you say, shows through, Paul.
Exactly.
So you can't
But,
just blame like one guy, because that's what I've said. These young boys, they're going to make mistakes, but don't single them out to. I mean, a lot of times we kind of do it with Ralston, I suppose, but we've,
mm,
we've seen enough of him to know that he's not going to make it. You can't turn around and write off or that Murray's never going to be a Celtic player because he get ripped apart off of West Ham yesterday.
exactly, Mark. Like Murray would have a good game in the League Cup if we were playing the lower leagues in the League Cup, so he can learn his trade there. Do you know what I mean? Like
Ah,
this is a big ask, like for putting a young fella up against a, you would say, a top class striker, Mark. Do you know what I mean? He learned from that, Mark.
that's
Yes,
the thing.
exactly.
He'll learn for it. It'll be an
Yeah.
experience for him, probably.
I'd be more concerned now,
Probably
Mark,
the best
if
player.
Beaton was in there or Starfelt was in there and they would be turned like that. Do you know what I mean?
But I mean, it's only so many games the young lads played, and he'll learn for playing against a player that's a lot higher up than him,
Yeah, exactly.
higher level. It's a learning curve for them.
Before we move on there, Campsy, it was Celtic Colts team drew 1-1 yesterday, I think, Mark, was it? They conceded a goal kind of near the end, I think. So it was 1-1 in the Celtic Colts team
It's,
yesterday.
it's not turning out as easy as we thought, was it? No.
Well, Mark, these fellas are, I say it's a tough league, Mark, these young fellas are going into as well. Like, in this, you know what I mean? They're not going in there like,
We've spoke about it. We've spoke about it
yeah,
with Barry and that. Do you know what I mean? These are big hairy ass men, Paul, and young lads that are fit and maybe just not good enough to be at the upper level, but they're tough guys. I mean, they're all part time, so they're all working during the week, and
exactly.
that was one of the
Exactly.
things about it. But so that's them played two, they've lost one and drew one.
2-1, yeah, yeah.
And I
But
think everybody, myself included, thought that if we could keep up the physicality, I think we kind of thought it was Celtic Rangers would just run amok down there. But
exactly.
yeah, that's
Shows, yeah, exactly, Mark. It's really kids against men down there, really, isn't it?
it'll toughen
You
them
know.
up. That's a certainty.
Um, One position, though, Mark, I had to single out yesterday, and look, it's sad. Like I have to say this about a player, but I'm afraid that Barkas' role as a goalkeeper, Mark, in my opinion, like Barkas needs to be sold. Definitely.
It's not looking good. I mean, we've all backed him and said that we think there's a keeper in there, but it just again, Paul, from what I seen it yesterday,
Mhm.
just nothing. It just again, they didn't look as if he was confident, or didn't he?
He'll end up, Mark. I think if he stays and if he's a number one keeper for next season, Mark, he's going to end up one of our worst signings or worst goalkeepers in our history, Mark. The way he's going, like I picked out a few things about his goalkeeping things, Mark, and I go through them there in a few minutes, but he doesn't seem to be improving, Mark. He just seems to be making these same mistakes over and
Basic,
over again.
basic errors again and again. Uh, I've stuck up for him. I spoke to Mikey earlier on as well about him, and we can't defend him anyway. We can't. There's nothing we can say that's not been said, but he's not doing anything to make it. Well,
Now, he made a mistake
see
yesterday,
there's a
right?
chance.
And he made a save yesterday, right? And the the Celtic fans that were in the stadium started cheering, Mark, that Barkas made the save. But when you look at the match and you see that save, that was an early sign that there was going to be a mistake coming. And I go through that, like how that mistake, that save was actually it was a mistake, really, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Because his position again for all that. That save, Mark, was all wrong. Like he had the whole open goal again, open for him, and if Antonio saw that open goal, right, it was a goal. Only for he just hit the ball straight at Barkas. But I think Antonio, Mark, if it's pre-season, if that was in the Premier League, Mark, that was a goal. Do you know what I mean? So there was all these signs there. So The first save from Barkas, some said it was amazing. Actually, there was actually warning signs to come. Antonio went through clean in the 3rd minute and didn't realise that he could essentially knock the ball into an empty net on Barkas' left hand side. Barkas was so central here that he didn't narrow the angle. Same error for by Barkas again, which he conceded goals. The first goal, Barker's position is that he was so central that he never knew where he was between his post. The post on his left was so open that it was easy for Antonio to just tap in the ball. Looking at it again, Barkas isn't aware where his positioning should be between the post, and he doesn't narrow the angles. 1-on-1 duels between a keeper and a striker are tough for both players. But when the keeper comes out, he has to narrow the angle with his positioning and make himself big. The only option then for a striker is to try and go around the keeper, and this will give the keeper an advantage or a chance to smother the ball or push the striker even further wide to make it even harder for the striker to score. Barkas doesn't do neither of these in the goal yesterday, and because his position is all wrong, he left his near post wide open for Antonio to clear the goal. So, not only Mark, as I look more and more into him, and on the last podcast, I questioned his position again, Mark. Do you know what I mean? And he's able to read the ball, but I don't think Barkas is actually, because he did come into a goalkeeper late. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, we saw these YouTube videos. Paul, he was a Greek internationalist and things like that. You don't. I mean, you're not like.
It's like I don't.
It's hard to explain what I'm trying to say. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get caps for Greece if you're terrible.
Mm-hmm. But something seems to have fallen, Mark, since he came to Celtic. Was he not under this pressure, Mark, in Greece? Do you know, because when I was listening to Paki Bonner last season, Paki Bonner said that the Greece teams, Mark, are good defenders. I mean, they're defensive teams in Greece, and their keepers really, Mark, aren't really under that much pressure.
But our keepers aren't usually under that much pressure, Paul.
No, and he's still conceding these
That's what I mean.
goals, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, most of the times you're lucky if in normal circumstances, you're lucky if Celtic have get 2 or 3 shots on goal against them during a game. So Celtic's keeper, they spend a lot of time really not doing anything. Do you get what I mean? Because most of the time we're always up the other end of the park trying to win the game. So you can't really say that it's just because there's not that many shots in against him. Do you get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You can't say because he's not that many shots that's made him look a better keeper.
But I don't know, is he not able to adjust to Scottish football, Mark, do you think? Or because when I was looking at Mark, he seems to be getting worse and worse, and when I'm looking through the lines, he was so central, Mark, for the goals yesterday. Like, Jesus, like his left post was, you could fit a bus through there. You know what I mean?
You're saying is it the Scottish game? Well, how does that kind of excuse what he done midweek here against Midtjylland?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, like.
And that's one. I know I said at the time.
That was one of the biggest blunders, Mark, I saw from a goalkeeper in a long time. Like, you know.
The more you watch it, the more you just realise how you can't believe that he missed it.
Like even like Mark, you question if he was. You'd be able to have some answers, Mark, if he was a small keeper. Do you know what I mean? But Barkas is a big lad, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
He's a big dangly.
He should be making himself a bit of a wall, Mark, in front of the goal, like the sides of him, but he doesn't. Even when I saw him come out, Mark, he keeps his hands kind of down by his sides, like he makes himself smaller when he's coming out. It looks like, do you know what I mean? Like you had Kasper Schmeichel there, Mark, in the European Championships, Mark, and that fella made himself. And Kasper Schmeichel's not a big lad either, Mark, in height wise. Do you know what I mean? Kasper Schmeichel's a small, and he made himself like a wall.
That's.
Do you know what I mean?
He learnt that from his dad, didn't he? Peter Schmeichel was kind of first person kind of keeper to do that, come out and spread.
Make yourself up, spread yourself, But when I'm looking at Barker's, Mark, he seems to tuck himself in or something like that. Like, do you know what I mean? You know, the more I see him, Mark, the more I actually get worried that if Celtic don't sign the keeper, Mark, like we could be in serious trouble, Mark, conceding goals next season. Like, you know,
we've tried to back him up. Saying to Mikey Ella, you can't make excuses for him any longer.
Because I was looking at Mark, like I was thinking that because of the first goal, Mark, against the goal against Midtjylland, that he wasn't able to read the flight of the ball, and I was saying that then that's going to affect his positioning. But then when I saw the game yesterday, Mark, it's like he's not able to read the game, and he doesn't know where his surroundings are. Do you get me?
I know like what you're saying.
He didn't even have aware of where his fucking near post was, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
That's what we were saying the other night. Did he think it was maybe getting by?
Yeah.
If he does, it's up to the keeper to know exactly.
Know where your post are. Yeah, exactly. And he's like, he didn't know, and that's all come down to.
But that's basic. I mean, that's basic for a goalkeeper, Paul.
Mark, I said on the forum, let's just take a drink there. I played in goal, Mark, since I was 12, up to 32. I'm retired now, thankfully, thank God. Jesus Christ. If I came out of retirement now, Veronica would pack her bags and she'd be gone. But I was trained by this amateur keeper, Mark. He's dead since the poor man committed suicide many years ago of his own issues. But this fella, Mark, was one of the best amateur keepers I saw. This fella's about 6'7", Mark, right? And he trained me since I was 12 already. And I used to go out with him all till I was about 18. Then we started going off the bandwagons and our standards kind of dropped then when I was 18. But Mark, the first things he taught me, Mark, was my positioning. Do you know what I mean? How to read a penalty, Mark, how to position myself for a corner, how to position myself for a cross. Simple things, Mark. Do you get me?
The basic stuff.
And that stick with you, Mark. So that's what I was thinking, Mark, that maybe because Barker's came into being a goalkeeper so late, Mark, is he at a disadvantage actually in learning these basic things when you're a keeper?
But Paul would end up being a Greek international offender later.
That's it.
That's what I was trying to say earlier on. Even though he was late coming in, you still wouldn't get to the kind of levels if you weren't up to standard.
Yeah, I think it's really.
Just hold on 2 seconds, Paul. Do you want me to get Mikey on? Right, sorry when you go, Paul. Just connected Mikey there.
I really can't put sense to it, Mark, because Celtic we really produced good goalkeepers, Mark. We did have good goalkeepers over the years, you know what I mean? And Barkas just doesn't fit it. Do you know what I mean? He just doesn't fit the goalkeeper position for me, and I think we have to go with Bain against Midtjylland. And that's saying something, Mark. I really do think we have to go with Bain. Hazard, you know? And
Hazard.
I don't know what
That's
Hazard is.
Mikey.
Yeah, how you getting on?
Alright, thanks for coming on there, bud.
Mikey, he's getting worse and worse as we're watching him, aren't we? You there, Mikey?
Sorry, yeah. Like I said, I was speaking to Mark earlier, and I've tried my best to stick up for the guy as much as I could. But like I said, as I said in the chat, there's some players are just it doesn't work out at certain football clubs for certain players, no matter how good they are or how bad they are. And
well, when you go, Mikey, sorry.
Just like he says, he's had a chance now. Like I said, way back in the last season, give him a good pre-season and take it from there. And like I said, it's obviously just not working out for the guy. So, like I said, it's quite clear that it's just time to move on.
And Mark, I praised him in one of the pre-season games that when I saw him come out the box clear, and I praised him but.
See if he does move on, right, keep an eye on him, but he'll go to some other team and do well.
But that's it. Yeah.
Mikey's saying sometimes moves just don't work.
Doesn't work out.
I think that's what this kind of turned into for us. It's just not going to work out.
I think, Mark, that Barkas's confidence now, Mark, is at so low, Mark, and for him to make those mistakes, Mark, I don't think he's going to recover. You know, because the keeper's all about confidence, Mark, and I think his confidence is gone, Mark, and it just continued from the Midtjylland game, Mark, and I stuck up for him, Mark. I said Ange will have to play him against West Ham to give him a confidence boost. But after seeing these goals, Mark, we can't risk, especially, Mark, with these young lads in front of him, we can't risk that against Midtjylland. Definitely not.
It's probably the choice of goalkeeper. Well, we've not really got much of a choice for the centre backs in Wednesday, but the choice of the goalkeeper is as crucial as that kind of idea.
Yeah, it is, Mark. It's
weak at centre back because of.
I think, Mark, I think the goalkeeper position, Mark, has to be up there at a high. Do you know what I mean? Because it's definitely a position, Mark. Like, we could always put someone in at right back for the time being till we get some, but the goalkeeper position, Mark, definitely needs to. Because, Mark, I know for a fact that Midtjylland are going to attack him next Wednesday, and he will be a target. We even saw that in the last moments of the Midtjylland game, Mark. They were targeting Barkas in the corners.
Well, all they need to do is down their left or right against Ralston and get it in the box down Barkas's throat and see what happens. I mean, as to me, you watch that, you look at the Celtic team, and Mikey will maybe agree, but that's like a basic way to beat Celtic. Now, would you say that, Mikey?
Yeah, like I say, it's not hard. Like I say, you just need to. That's like I said last week. Even the same goes for Midtjylland. They're rotten at the back, so the way to beat them easy is just a touch. Which we're that bad at the back ourselves.
They're probably thinking the same, Mikey, then, aren't they?
We're at the point now where we just need to try and outscore whoever we're playing. It's as simple as that.
That's the way it is, Mark. I think that's because I think we will concede at least 1 or 2 goals next week, and I think we're actually lucky that the away goal isn't.
I think that could turn out to be a bit of a blessing in disguise that they've done it for us.
You know, and I don't know what the situation, Mark, is with Hazard, because he wasn't on the bench yesterday. Like, so I don't know, is he moving closer to a deal with Dundee, or have you heard anything about that?
Oh, still Dundee were meant to be wanting him, but I read something that did you know look at somebody else as well. I think you that better than me.
Was this Dundee in for Hazard, did you say?
Aye.
I mean, again, nothing against the guy in that, but it would surprise me if Dundee. I mean, they've had him on loan, so maybe they've seen it something in him that they want him back. But I can only go on for what I've seen him at Celtic, and I think he's god awful. Like as a goalkeeper, and I see even in one of the pre-season games that I've seen recently, he just looked
like Hazard isn't comfortable coming out taking the ball either, Mikey. Like, he's not like Hazard will be known because he saved those penalties in the cup final. But if you actually look at that match, Mark, how many times it Hazard dropped the ball in the corner or flapping it, like, do you know what I mean?
He did make a lot of mistakes as well, which you put down to youth. But these players, I've said it before, Paul, instead of just sitting at Celtic, they should be in loan learning. You know, I mean, they're great. Hazard, Mikey's saying he doesn't rate him at all, and that. And again, he's probably another one that's went back away.
Exactly.
He's not getting the right. He's not getting the right kind of nurturing to move him forward. That's it.
So, Mark,
just if that happens.
Do we need to call out maybe Stevie Woods here in this? Like, that maybe our 3 keepers are bad. Like, do we need to freshen up our goalkeeping department? Like, I know Stevie Woods highly regarded, but sometimes, Mark, too, like, your backroom staff can come stale. Do you get me? And it needs a different approach. Like, does Stevie Woods need questioning here, or maybe put aside what's going on with our keepers?
That's a tough. No, you look at what Woods done for the likes of Fraser Foster and that as well. Do you know what I mean? It's just.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, but you see the point I'm getting at, though. Like, that every department needs a freshen up, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
You know.
Or have they just been unlucky and landed like 3 a batch of
dead Woods
at the one time kind of idea?
Yeah, you know, because like for a team like Celtic, like, to have 3 bad keepers. Do you mean, like, one is not as good as the other? Do you get me? Do you know what I mean?
You wouldn't.
You know, even putting Barkas
pick the best.
Yeah, even putting Bain in next week, Mark. And for me to say that, Mark, is even giving me shivers to say, like, we need Bain and goal fucking next week. Like, do you know what I mean? You know?
I mean, well, I think it's we're just saying we've all stuck up for Barkis, but it's time to. We know now. There's no. It's just that it's not going to work out. We need to move quick. Like you said earlier, somebody out there will give us £3.5–4 million for him. I wouldn't see. Say just we'll be lucky to get any.
Well, Joe saying like that AK Atkins were looking at him again, weren't they? But they were looking at him at maybe a loan deal, weren't they?
Oh, AK Atkins know how good he is because he did play that well for them. That's where he's made his name, is he?
Yeah.
They obviously know what they're getting, but like I says, they demanded whatever fee they got for him, so we need to recoup at least 3/4 of that back.
Because, Mark, that was the deal at that time with Champ that I said, didn't it, Mark?
Before we move on for that, right, we're talking about how moves and that don't work out. Would you say Fraser Foster's move to Southampton's worked out?
No, definitely not.
Do you know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
So,
you know?
And we're arguing over whether we should try and sign him back. This is a guy that's moved to England and basically failed in England.
Well, Southampton fans actually
and he went down to England.
Southampton fan and other, like all the other English sites I go through that, people suggest him. And even when he went to Southampton at first, why did we not get in for him? And nobody in England really rates Foster.
No, and at one stage, Mark, when the reason he went down there is because he wanted to be an England number one. That time when he went down, that was his move back to England. Sure, that was one of his main reasons.
And that was need that goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't rate that Pickford at all really either, but so even at that, Foster had a chance to get down there and prove himself to be England's number one and didn't take it.
England haven't had a good goalkeeper, Mark, since David Seaman. What was there? I mean, David Seaman was another like. Joe, I don't think we're going to see a keeper, Mark, as tough as we did in the 90s, like Seaman, Schmeichel. You had Neville Southall, who was another tough keeper back then when I was growing up. Like, these were big keepers, Mark, who would throw themselves on the line, Mark, even if they got injured. But the keepers now, Mark, they don't want to do that. They don't want to get injured. You know what I mean? It's a different style of keeper, really, now, isn't it?
Well, even all these new, the younger keepers that have come through, I think it was even De Gea that started it. They're just kind of posing, posturing on the park and things like that.
It was really the Barcelona team, Mark, that changed the goalkeeper role, wasn't it? And
even the way they kick the ball out, they kick the wee fancy swings of that. And it's all for camera and all for show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a kind of a thing with modern goalkeepers.
Was he Scottish? Was he Neville Southall?
No.
Welsh. Yeah, he was some keeper, wasn't he, Southall?
I think going back to Fraser Foster when he went to Southampton to be that, he would have ended up being England number one if he stayed at Celtic. Because he was already in the England team knocking on the door, so he just needed to bide his time. But I don't know if anybody else agrees as well, and it just came to me there. And I remember it because a lot of people didn't like Rob Douglas back at Celtic. But I actually, when we were on that Seville run back in the day, if it wasn't for Rob Douglas in a lot of the games, we would have been well. But obviously Rob Douglas had his errors as well. But remember when we signed Magnus Hedman? Remember the Swedish number one down in the Premier League, and he was one of the most sought after goalkeepers as well. And he came up as well, and he couldn't hack it at Celtic either.
It's just some players, Mark, just can't hack the Scottish game. I think that's
just some players. But Mikey said there are some transfers just don't work. Doesn't matter. I mean, even top players have made moves and it's just no worked out for them. Look at Chris Sutton when he went to Chelsea.
Yeah, it didn't work out. Sure, he was hot. He was one of the hardest prospects Denmark after just winning the league with Blackburn. That time, sure, weren't they, Blackburn?
If you look through, there's loads of them. That transfers that you think that's some signing, and then it just doesn't work out for one reason or another. And for me, that's where Barkis has fell into. Time to cut.
Chris Sutton scored 1 goal for Chelsea in 30 games.
Jesus.
So
I shows you how bad. And people say, "Well, you never got a chance at Chelsea."
But my main concern is
30 games.
30 games, plenty of chances out there.
Do you think Ange sees this what we're seeing with Barkis? You know, do you think he knows maybe we need a new keeper?
I'd be disappointed if he doesn't, Paul.
You know, you would, Mark, considering what we're kind of learning from him, Mark. Do you know what I mean? You know,
I kind of when there was a talkie, Barkas came back to Greece on loan, and then it wasn't. And he spoke to Ange, and he was ready to willing and stay at Celtic and fight for his place, and Ange was happy with him the way he'd been training and that. But he's still making these basic mistakes in games.
And we're lucky like that. These mistakes are in pre-season, Mark, but when then he makes his first game then in the competition football again, he's making this fucking big huge error that, for me, like, is one of the basic things that keeper needs to do, Mark, and which it could do, Mark. It could cost us the tie. Do you know what I mean?
If we don't get through for this round, although people going about the board, no buying players and no doing this, for me, if we don't get through for this round, to blame
Beaton and Barker are to blame.
and Barkas.
Definitely.
Because if we'd stayed with 11 men on the park on Tuesday night there, we'd have scored more goals, Paul, and been quite comfortable getting earlier. Even if we kept the 11 men on the park, even allowing for Barkas making that mistake, we would maybe be going there with a 3-1 lead.
We would have went out. We would have got a goal, hadn't we, Mark? Because we took off our main threat, like, didn't we?
That was the thing. That's what I'm saying. We rejig with the full team. We lost our main threat, all because of Beaton. Even allowing for the Barkas mistake, if we still had 11 men on the park, we would have scored a couple more goals, I think. And we'd have been there. We'd still have been getting Barkas pelters because of the mistake.
Sorry.
A bit more comfortable.
Sorry there, lads. I will have no one on the live chat dissing Packy Bonner, so I won't have that. I'll ban you if I see you dissing Packy Bonner.
Packy, no.
Jesus, lads.
That's something we want to get rid of McGregor.
I just want to pick up something there. I was speaking to Mark earlier. I don't know. I missed the start of the podcast because I was busy. Me and Mark were talking about a guy that Celtic was supposedly made a bid for, that Aurelio Buta, the Portuguese right back. So it just came through there that Royal Antwerp have rejected Celtic's offer. So Royal Antwerp have said they want 3.5 million euros.
Celtic bid in 2.1 or something like that.
2.1.
Yeah.
What are Celtic then as a football club? They're just this parasites, like you said, when it's coming to like transfer fees and that.
But that's what Barry was saying. Like, if they named their price market, it's within Celtic's budget, just go and bid that price and get the player.
That's what I say to Mikey. You can understand.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's trying to get players for as cheap as you can. But if a club's come out and says we want 4 million for him, well, 3.5 million euros or whatever, you don't get in with pure low ball. Because we moan about teams doing that, Newcastle with their bids for Ayer and things like that.
I remember.
If they're wanting 4 million euros, but give me, I don't know, 3.2 as an opening bid. Do you get what I mean? You're just
exactly.
And maybe eventually they'll haggle it down and you'll maybe get them for 3.8, 3.6, which isn't a lot of money.
But not 1.5 million, not 1.5 million off the price, like, you know what I mean?
That's what you've got derogatory. That's a derogatory bid.
Well, it doesn't help as well that Lazio are now seemingly interested in that as well, You know what I mean? So
come to Celtic then.
You know what I mean? So Bash, this is the kind of clubs that are looking at these kinds of players, And if Celtic had offered the price, they would have had them done tied up by now,
I was wondering today, right? And why, when I was doing up the stuff like that, and I was wondering why are Celtic so slow again this season in getting our targets in, right? And it seems to always be the way before the Champions League qualifiers, Mark, that Celtic really don't have the players in that they want, right? Now, when I was thinking to myself, like, McKay's only in the door. Like, he's only getting used to things, really, Mark, you know what I mean? And he's getting used to the way things done. Like, and I presume, Mark, it's different in football, in negotiating a player's transfer in rugby. I presume it would be different,
I take it
because
it's a long drawn out. The negotiations can go on for months, weeks, Paul, with players' contracts and things like that.
Like, so I'm
Paul, you're saying that, but Paul, I mean, look, we've signed Starfield, we've signed Abida, we've signed Kyogo. That's all the news.
Mozazi.
A couple of young guys.
Aye, but what other year of Celtic went in and at this point of the season and signed
and got these players in?
They're going to be first team players. So Celtic, just says it's always they're dragging their heels, but compared to other years, Paul, they've moved pretty quick this year. And don't get us wrong, it was desperate. I mean, we're reacting to a desperate situation. But a lot of times the odd wee free transfer would come in, and it was after the qualifiers were finished that Celtic done their transfer business. So they haven't quickly. It's a big. I mean, 4 transfers in the space of a week, space of 4 weeks isn't actually that bad when you break it down like that. And they're spending money.
So I go back to what I was thinking, Mark. Maybe is Lorne and maybe Ian Banker and the old board kind of still controlling the transfers with McCoy at this stage?
No, I don't think so. I don't. If it was the old board, we wouldn't have problem with these. If it was low and the board under their time, we wouldn't have had these players in by now.
So
I don't think that's you getting into the conspiracy theory stuff and that. I think, Paul.
of course it is.
Aye, but no, you're blaming. Well, I'm not going to pop you, but you're blaming Low for things that if it is Low.
No, but I'm saying maybe because these old folks are still there, Mark. I mean, all the board members that were with all that time, like, is that maybe why we're putting in a 2.1 million bid for a 3.5 million player, because that's the way Peter Law would have done stuff, and these kind of same board members are still on the board at this time. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we spoke about that, didn't we?
No.
IFP's quite.
Yeah, so that's what that
kind of thing.
That's the thing I was kind of getting at. Like, is it that maybe because we're putting in these stupid bids for players, Mark, when we know we're not going to get the player with that type of money? Do you know what I mean?
Well, a daft man could tell you that they're only going to play for 2.1 million if they're looking for 3.5-4 million.
You know, it's just
never actually dealt with that. I mean, again, that's down to the agents and things like that, Paul. So
exactly, because the agent would tell Celtic too, Mark, what kind of price region would be around there as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Unless the agent said to them, going with a low ball bid, they're maybe struggling for a bit of money to see how the ground lies and that kind of thing. Because it's a murky world, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I could get you him for, instead of paying 4 million to them, I could maybe get you him for 2.5 million if you give me 500,000.
That's it, like the agent.
Aye, especially.
Yeah, instead of giving them the 3 million, Mark, give me 1 million out of it, isn't it?
I mean, Mikey really rates this young lad, didn't you, Mikey?
Yeah. So, like I say, again.
Is he the Portuguese lad, Mikey? Yeah, the young Portuguese, isn't he? Yeah.
Like you say, he's got loads and loads of caps at every level of playing for Portugal. Like I said, he came through Benfica. Again, they've supplied some of the best talent in the last 80 years to football. Like I said, he was up against it at Benfica and moved to Belgium. Saw a better league than us, probably. And like I said, he's a standout player for them. And the fact that they came out and said we want €3.5 million to take him, and they've offered 2.1. It's getting back to the John McGinn thing again, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
because
just greed. That's all. It's like Celtic the first when they laughed at Newcastle bidding 8 million. They got the 13.5 million for Ayer with only a year left on his contract. This guy's under contract for another 3 years. You know what I mean? Just get the money paid, because it's right back. Have you seen who we've got playing at right back just now? They watched the West Ham game.
They're screaming for a right back.
That's what I mean.
I've said we can get by with Taylor, maybe the odd game in Scotland, but Ralston just Ralston need to.
Because what I was reading, when I was doing up the notes there yesterday, and I was listening to Ange's pre-match conference, and he said that our defenders were concentrating more on the way he wanted to play and try more to do what he, tried to do the way he wanted to play things, Mark, the fast-moving football, and that affected them because they didn't do their duties then of defending. So that's just shown to me, Mark, that the likes of Taylor and Madison can't play under Ange's way if they're too much concentrating on moving the ball fast, Mark. They're not able to defend because they're not concentrating on their defending. That's what the way Andrew was kind of putting it yesterday. Like he was saying, we were concentrating more on the way I wanted to play, and we forgot how to defend. Do you know what I mean? That's just saying like that Madison and Taylor, Mark, aren't going to fit the way Andrew wants to play this fast. Remember I was saying, Mark, that He wants to play the fast-moving football, 2 touches at the back, straight out to the midfield, Mark. And they're not going to do it, Mark. Taylor Matson.
He said the defence, so you've got to include Welsh and Murray.
Oh, definitely. And the reason I didn't want to put them in, Mark, because they were young.
Aye,
And
but
they're up against, yeah.
I'm just saying the defence didn't do this. You've got to put them in. I know
Mhm.
being young is an excuse kind of idea, but if you're posting blame, you've got to blame the full defence.
Yeah, but then that's just shown then, Mark, that these players aren't able to play under Ange the way he wants them to play. Do you know what
I wouldn't say they can't play under him, Paul. Maybe just take a bit more time for them to adapt to it. But I don't see any of the players that started in our defence yesterday as being a first choice.
No, and I think
Welsh, I don't see.
I think Mark Welch is way too young. And I think, Mark, I've seen it now, and I have to agree with you. Welch still has a lot to learn in the game. Do you know what I mean? And if he'll get crucified, Mark, if he makes mistakes in the league, and it's going to hammer a young. Welch is still a year or two, Mark, to be a top defender. I think, you know.
If he keeps going the way he's going, working with Ancho, he'll become a great defender for us, and probably with England, we'll get plenty of money for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any of the 4 defenders yesterday as being a first choice for us.
No, and even
Hearts in the League Cup draw.
Exactly. Did we?
Buzz has just put it in the live chat there.
Jesus Christ, that's another tough one back, isn't it? You know?
That's a hard game to start with treble on, isn't it?
It'll give you... It's not going to give you confidence really going into the Midtjylland game, knowing that you're going to have Radisson, maybe Barkas, Welch, Young, Dale Murray and Taylor in that back line, is it? You know?
I don't know, could we maybe... Someday we could even go for like 5 at the back.
Maybe give him cover there.
I just didn't think you need to. I just didn't need to go further at the back against this mob. Honestly, they're seriously a bad side.
Well, that's what I said before the first leg as well, Mikey. That if we can keep it in their half.
Well, maybe do we do something like that? Maybe what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does, Mark. He puts 2 defensive midfielders in front of him, so we could put maybe Liam Shaw, Zora in there to give him some protection there.
I maybe do something like that. But whatever way you sets up, he'll need to make sure that defence is protected.
Definitely, Mark. It definitely needs protection, Mark, because there is goals there to be taken if Midtjylland actually attack the goal, like, isn't there?
I'm confident that we'll go there and score. I'm not worried. That side of things, Paul, I'm not worrying about that.
No, that's it. That's worrying. It's more the other side. You're what? Like, I had no issues yesterday. With the attack. And like yesterday again, we saw Cal McGregor, like a different player altogether, Mark. Like up around their box and everything. His goal was a cracker. Like it was all Callum Mack of years ago.
It was a belter. He scored.
You know, and even Christie again, Mark. Like Christie was brilliant again, yes. And if Christie actually wanted to stay and signed a contract, Mark, I think he could be a great player under Ange Christie. You know, I really do. But it's all coming down, Mark, to if Christie actually does want to stay. That's the problem, isn't it? If Christie actually does want to stay.
Well, we know that he didn't.
Yeah.
If he did, he'd have signed a contract by now.
That's the problem, Mark, because the contract isn't signed.
So,
you know,
until he signs a new contract and shows what I agree with you, he's turned up over the last couple of games, Paul.
And he has, in fairness to him now. And
unless he signs a new contract and comes out and
says he wants to stay here, Mark.
I'm coming out with any like birthday card nonsense. No, I mean even if he came out and says, look, after I look about and nothing's actually out there that I'm better off where I'm at. Fair dues then, sign a new contract and knuckle down and get back to the player that you were.
Because when you were saying like that he's being linked to Saudi Arabia, like Celtic are bigger than a club in Saudi Arabia. Like that's just money, and that's all it is just money. Do you know what I mean?
Either sign the deal at Celtic or move on.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. I mean, I did like the guy, like the young guy, Eo Hilda. That's the way that Leeds are wanting him in that. Celtic offered him improved terms. If he doesn't want to be here, then move him on. You know what I mean? Like he says, it's part. Like, I'm just sick of players at Celtic. Like there seems to be more that want to be away than actually be at the club. Just move them on.
And that's the main concern, Mark, because
But
Yeah,
that's affect morale in the team as well.
of course it does, Mark, because
It's doing to it's the newspapers, it's clickbait websites. But we all as a kind of, although we all sit and do that, that's a lot of garbage. But we're still reading it and putting that seed of doubt in your head. So
of
players will
course it is.
stuff and think, well, what's he doing? If he don't want to be here? Why is he
Of
still?
course it is, Mark, because like if you're a player, Mark, and I'm going to put Yesi and Griffiths in here. Like if you're two of those players, Mark, and you see Edward getting a game before you, a player who wants to leave Celtic, like that's going to piss you off as well. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why is he getting a game and I'm the one who's committed to the club?
Oh,
Do you know what I
exactly.
mean? And it's just come down to how depleted our squad is at the moment, Mark, that we have to depend on players who actually don't want to be here. Because I think, Mark, if Oyo didn't move on last week, Mark, Oyo would have been playing the Midtjylland game, I said. Do you know?
No, he didn't been training or anything, Paul. He didn't been injured or apparently injured.
Apparently, yeah, exactly.
That,
Do you know what I mean?
I don't think even if Ayer had still been here, he would have played against Midtjylland.
Mhm.
I don't think he'd any intentions ever really.
No, no, but like until Christie gives us this contract, Mark, he's still a player, Mark, who wants to away from Celtic, like, and it's just like I know he's played well, and you can't diss him that, Mark, but as you said, like it has to affect morale within the team. Like if a player's getting a game and who doesn't want to be there, do you know what I mean? Maybe Christie's playing good back because he wants to move away, and then we're benefiting Christie. Do you know what I mean?
But I mean, why has it been dragging on so long as well?
Yeah,
We spoke about Edward earlier on. I don't know if Mikey was on at the time. Mikey, I read out what I told you the day about
Yeah.
Edward. But if Christie and Edward and that, if they don't want to be there, why is it dragging on so long to even get rid of players?
exactly.
Celtic have told their agents what they want. It's up to their agent to go out there and find a deal that Celtic are willing to take. And I
I
mean,
think
said with Edward, and if Christie going to Saudi Arabia, it's the same. I mean, does that not tell you nobody's really wanting Christie?
exactly. I just think, Mark, they're playing Celtic now, Mark, for a bigger move to suit them, which shouldn't be the way, Mark. Celtic shouldn't be suiting players who want a bigger move. It should be the best move for the club.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
I've had my say before about this talk about Edward signing a year's contract.
Mhm.
I would never accept that.
Mhm.
That would be just it would be just one of the stupidest things that Celtic could do. One of the stupidest things Dominic Mackay could do. Just
It's be back to square one next season, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Unless Edward Mark is going to sign a 3-year contract, which he won't.
no,
Do you know what I mean?
that's what I've said in that previous
Yeah.
times, Paul.
Yeah.
If they want to sign a new contract with Celtic, there it is, 3 or 4 years. On next year, but still tell them, look, there's a 3 or 4 year contract. But if you want to move next year, we'll look at it again and you can move on. But we've got that contract that's going to guarantee we're getting more money for you because of that contract.
I think what annoys me with Celtic supporters just now, and especially with Christie, is a lot of them saying, "Oh well, we should have had him tied up on a contract." And
But he didn't want to sign the contract.
He didn't want to sign it. He didn't. He already. And this is
Yeah.
what I mean. I've argued with people in the past about this regarding Christie, and
Yeah.
he's never came out and said it. His dad and agent have came out in the press and says he's no intention of signing a new deal at Celtic. He wants to move on. I mean, if
Sure,
that's
his
not
dad
black
was
and white.
tipping him for a move for years down south. For years. That's what he was. His dad was saying, the way I was getting the impression from his dad was saying that he was a better player than Celtic. Do you know what I mean? You know, that's the impression I got from what his dad was saying that time. That Christie is too big for Celtic.
Played well at Celtic for 18 months. That's it. Then I say the dummy came at the pram and he never wanted to even play for Celtic. And he's had a couple of good games in pre-season because he wants to move and everybody wants him signed up now, eh?
I think the big bucks with Tierney, Mark, has Tom Christie's head, I think.
I might have done that. But what game was it? Was it he scored or somebody else scored? And it was as if it was him that scored. I'm talking about.
And he didn't celebrate.
I did, and the team, nobody even really went out at him or something like that.
He didn't even. It was the same yesterday, Mark, but he didn't even celebrate yesterday. Really, when he got the goal. Do you know what I mean? He didn't really. He would just walk kind of back to the halfway line, like. Do you know what I mean? You know.
If these players don't want to be here, it's get them out the team.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, if all you, what you're saying, Paul, maybe again, Mikey mentioned to me earlier about cutting off my nose to spite my face and things like that, but you've got to plan things going forward. I mean, what's
Mm-hmm.
right? What fans just sitting there thinking, right, I'll play Christie here and we'll do this and we'll do that. Then next thing Monday morning, he comes up, boom, there's a transfer, Christie's off. That throws Andy's plans for the next couple of weeks into disarray again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just going back, like he says about the planning thing, which hits the nail right on the head with Celtic, especially at the start of this season. What's his name? Ayer was always moving. They knew the fee they wanted. So how did they need to wait on Ayer leaving before they announced Starfelt? They knew Ayer was leaving. They knew the money was coming in. Just get the transfers done. We could have had the Hill defence. We could have had Buta in, Starfeld in, Josh Doig in, and probably another in for even less than what we got for Ayer. We could have had a decent defence going into this game. But instead we're going in with guys that should never be near the first team.
That's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm thinking that maybe the board are still kind of showing Dominic McKay the way things are done in the transfer market. Mark, I mean, that's why I think that we're still kind of a bit slow to get these targets in that we need the players in for these positions. I think that the board are still doing a lot of things, Mark. That Dominic is still getting used to the role.
What could the board have done to get Kyogo in quicker?
Nothing really. You know what I mean? That's due to COVID. But Starfelt could have been signed earlier, Mark, could he? Or were they waiting for the money to come in, Mark, to see what...
Oh, well,
do you know what I mean? We don't know.
I mean, the Starfelt deal, it was I was saying, I know I make you earlier, it was the Ruben Kazan president or something that came out and said the deal just waiting to be announced and it'll be a record deal. And that was their president or whatever it is, the chairman, whatever. He said that live on the telly in Russia. So the deal, again, was it...
Agents too, Mark, could be stalling deals as well to get more money, do you know what I mean?
That's what I'm going to say. It could be down to the agent, it could be down to anything. It could be down to Celtic waiting to actually make the payment, do you know what I mean? Actually send the money through to get the ball rolling, but it's just so many...
And visas too, Mark, comes into effect as well this year, don't they?
Many factors this window that it's kind of the first time we've had to deal with them. So I'd say like next summer, well, we're hoping well that Celtic get a bit better run by the time next summer comes. We've already got these plans in place, but next summer they'll know that these deals are going to take maybe 2 weeks longer. Even though COVID's going to boot the way, we're still going to have to go through the work permit channel and the visas and things like that. So again, it's probably Mackay's learning the CEO job of Celtic. Probably even this kind of stuff's just a learning curve for him now. It's probably every club in the UK is the same now. Stuff with Brexit and needing to get visas for players. Even I said it before, normally you done the deal, the jump on a plane, and the next thing you were getting...
Exactly, they're within the one the plane, they're in within 48 hours. Like, those days are gone, like, aren't they?
And it never happened much with Celtic, but it's just the changes in the world now are even affecting like football transfers and things like that.
The thing that caught my eye yesterday was Yesi wasn't even on the bench. You know, I'm wondering, is he injured or did he need a rest, or it's a bit concerning really, Mark, if Yesi is injured kind of early in the pre-season.
Sure, I saw something on Twitter about it, Paul, that he just had a bit of a knock, but it was nothing serious.
Major.
Don't take that as gospel. It was just something I read on Twitter. It wasn't for any kind of reliable source or anything like that. But I thought it was weird that Leo Hill, defender Hill, I thought it was weird that he was on the bench.
Yeah, because there is talks ongoing with Leeds, and I know Celtic did offer a new contract, like yourself and Mikey said there. Like Celtic, do we know any situation on him? Is he staying or is he going or?
No heard anything else about it.
You know that it's
young lad either for. I mean, Leeds are a good team working under Bielsa and that, you know. So again, you'd like to think as well, but see, like if this was this time last year or 6 months ago, Helder would have been off. Do you get what I mean? Well, he went on loan, but if the chance, Leeds were even chasing him then. But you're hoping now that maybe see working with Ange and telling him, look, you'll get your chances, just follow our plan, follow our pathway. We're hoping that that's going to train, buck the trend all these young players want in a way.
Mhm.
Because we'll regret losing him. We would.
I think so. Yeah.
We really
I think
would.
he's going to be. I think Mark, he will be a big player for any club in a year or two. Do you know what I mean? I think he
He'll be better than Aya.
definitely,
Said that to
But
you yesterday.
definitely.
how's that guy at the back, Murray, getting a game ahead of Helga?
See, I was thinking of that as well. I mean,
Don't
I
know.
don't understand.
no, we'll help that play. We're prosecuted with the championship, wouldn't they?
Mhm.
Yeah, John Hughes that says that he's like he didn't want to put too much pressure on the guy, but he was comparing him to like Van Dijk when he first seen him and everything.
But he's played X amount of games in the championship. So what you're saying, I might even though he's only 17, 18. It's got to be. He's more experience even than Murray playing in the.
It's going down to two, Mark. We don't know what Angus is seeing in training either. Like, do you know what I mean? It's going down to that really. Like, into what Angus, like I was saying, why didn't he play Yorahidi in centre back? Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you start him maybe on the right or in the centre on Wednesday on new defender, the young fella Ozaza Orhidi?
Yeah.
You know, he didn't really show me much really yesterday in the match.
I'd start most of the guys over what's playing, like you says. I'd be playing ball and goalie and that over Ralston and that, like you said last time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you says Ralston, like you says, I think it's only Postecoglou and Kennedy that obviously think that he's acceptable to play at right back. Like he's.
She was looking into the details of that. Why is Lee Griffiths getting back in the squad after all this carry on? And yet Golly's still getting booked.
Exactly. He's injured. Bolingoli's injured.
I didn't know that, right?
He came back with a knock for thinking, yeah, Bolingoli.
Saying to Mikey there, why no try Bolingoli, do you know, on the left? He's got more experience in that, but if he's injured, obviously that's the case. But I hope it's nothing to do with what happened last year that's getting held against the lad, know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he's as far as I know, Mark, he's still carrying a knock from last season. Did he get a bad injury last season on loan? Didn't he near the end of the season? I know he got a bad injury, and he came back and he played a few games. Then he kind of had a setback then again with the injury. So Bolingoli is actually still injured.
Well, they still had him on the bench against Midtjylland in the first game, did they?
That's what I was thinking. He was on the bench.
Yeah, well, that's true then. So, like, if you're fit for the bench, you're fit to play, really, aren't you? You know?
I don't know, like you say, if it was talked about earlier or that, but obviously all that information filtering through now about Griffiths getting booed at Parkhead and that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just embarrassing, like booing players that are wearing the green and white.
Even not booing Griffiths, like booing the young lad Orko Flex who came on for West Ham, like. Can you blame Orko Flex from leaving the club, Mark, when he didn't get a run and he had no pathway to the Celtic first team? The young kid decided to leave for his sake of his future, and then for a young kid to come back to Celtic in the pre-season getting bored, booed. It's really bad, like from the Celtic support that were there. Yes, they want this.
After the way the club's been run the last 2 years or so, Paul, I don't blame anybody for wanting to Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have blamed Callum McGregor for wanting to Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm like to think that McGregor, he's got the captaincy, things like that. I've said it before, I was surprised. I'd be surprised if there hasn't been bids for McGregor this summer after the performances in the Euros and things like that. Even
Mark, there still could be, like, we don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's still early. Do you know what I mean?
I'd like to think now, Paul, he's got the
Captain, yeah.
He's told the club that he's not interested in moving, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
But so hopefully that's kind of a sign that McGregor's seen things changing in the background and things are getting a bit better and getting improving. And don't they more than we do of what's going on behind the scenes, and maybe the training's probably a lot better, things like that. So, but before Ange came in and had the chance to clean the slate with people, I wouldn't have blamed anybody if they'd wanted to leave Celtic.
No, exactly, Mark. Like, and to boo that young lad coming on, Mark. Do you know what I mean? I really felt bad for the young lad. Do you know what I mean? Because he got a run there due to COVID, and he wouldn't have got that run due to COVID, Mark. Do you know what I mean? He would have been in and around the first team only if it was the team had to isolate John Dubois. I mean, this was probably not a young lad like Dembele who was told right? Stay down, and you'll get your run in the squad next season, and it just didn't materialise. Do you know what I mean? Would you blame the young lad for leaving, Mark? Do you know what I mean?
Well, definitely no.
You know,
I mean, if you're being bogged down in actually losing the 10 in a row and all that kind of thing, and looking at the club, see, but if your contract, or your contract, your season finished the end of May or whatever, and you're sitting there looking at your options, Celtic better pull something out their arse here, and I'm off. I'm not taking another year of this. It's just basically a joke, Paul.
and do you know what the what?
A joke.
Do you know what the worst thing is, Denmark? Like, he's not even gone down to the West Ham youths team. He's been brought into their first team. Do you know what I mean? You know, like, I know he's not probably going to play week in and week out, but he's already been shown a pathway, Mark, that he's in around the first team, and he'd learn within around the first team. Do you get me?
But even though, even down to the fact, Paul, he's probably, wow, the manager knows I exist.
Exactly.
I mean, because for me, Neil Lennon, no interest in any of the youth players and trying to help them out and bring them on things. I think I would just one of the things he just kind of blanked. Had no interest whatsoever in.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I just think Celtic fans are so fickle. Like, just looking back, like it's okay to boo Griffiths even though he's cleared of any wrongdoing. It was okay to clap Iniesta and Xavi off the park when they had a great game at Parkhead. It wasn't alright to boo Larsson, because why should you boo Larsson? He scored against Celtic in a European game playing for a different team. Not allowed to boo him. No, I mean, it's just there seems to be a lot of rules it's going to put a negative atmosphere around Parkhead if Griffiths plays Mark and every when he comes on, and if we've half the stadium booing, like, it's going to put a negative atmosphere around Celtic Park, isn't it? If they're booing their own players. I would like to ask, like, what is he getting booed for?
That's true, like that. What is he getting?
Because he's been cleared of any wrongdoing. So what's he getting booed for? It's just ignorance, eh? That's what it is.
But that's just going back to what yourself and Mark was saying there. Like, this is this group of fans, Mark, that need to have something negative about Celtic every single time. Do you know what I mean? Like, there were some fans there, Mark, and they were trying to cheer Griffiths on him and block out the boos, like, but it's uncalled for to be booing a Celtic player who's
the majority of modern, I don't like to use the word younger, because some of the older guys are just as bad, but always needs to be the negativity.
Exactly.
To be what's wrong. They never look at the good points, it's just what the bad points are.
And, like, what if Griffiths does come good next season, Mark? What if Griffiths gets us the goals? Like, are they going to start booing him then? I certainly wouldn't think so. You know?
Up to them.
Yeah, like I said, if I was sitting at Parkhead yesterday, I spoke to Mark earlier about this, and there was guys booing thing and that, and I wouldn't have sat quiet like it. I'd
never accept booing Celtic players.
No, I don't like it.
Like, no, it's not on, Mark. Do you know?
Celtic players through the years I couldn't stick, but I would never in my mind think of booing them. Do you get what I mean?
Exactly. I just don't understand. Like,
we're not
Rangers hundreds and hundreds of times, and I've never ever seen it.
Like, I get over booing the team, Mark, if the team played badly and they're coming off a half time, boo the team. Do you know, that's different.
I've done that.
Do you know what I mean?
Team off the park.
Yeah.
I've done.
But to single out a player is a step over the line, like, in this, you know.
Aye. It's no.
You know.
Well, I mean, Celtic fans going about all of the best fans in the world, but again, the mask slips and they let themselves down.
So, moving on to, like, I know we spoke about this with John, but we'll speak about Mike, you know, because it's getting close. It's the build-up, like, and it's the game against Midtjylland, and it is really a must-win for Celtic to drop down to the Europa League. Now, if Celtic lose that, are we out of Europe altogether, or do we actually go into the qualifiers? I think we go into the qualifiers, or do we drop down to the Conference League? Or
I think we dropped down to that Conference League. I think Buzz is in the live chat. He probably knows better than me off the top of his head, but I think we've got a chance to get down to that Conference League, King.
Yeah, and it's the next one then. If we lose that, then we drop down to the quarterfinals, I think, in Europa League. Then, if we did get through that, we played PSV. I think we go into the quarterfinals then, or something like that, like a playoff run or something like that. I think it's actually weird that there's so many different changes. It's very hard to kind of to keep track of it. But that is going to be our backline. I think it's going to be Madison, Welch, Murray, and Taylor, because we said it, Mark, that kind of whoever starts the game against West Ham, it's more likely going to be the game on Wednesday, isn't it?
I think that will be, for me, it'll be the same starting 11, unless it's Barkas.
Barkas. Mikey, do you think maybe he'll drop Barkas for Ben, or do you think Barkas will be given the go ahead? I think Barkas will be given the go ahead, I think.
Barkas, like you say, I still think he's the best at the three, so I still go on. Which doesn't say much for the other two.
Really doesn't, so does it, Mark?
No.
Do you know what I mean? If you have to put Barkas in goals, like, Jesus, like, it really does, like, you know what I mean?
It's like asking what ball you want it kicked on.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want kicked in your right ball or your left ball, there's both sore, do you know what I mean? No matter what keeper starts for us, it's got to be a kind of nerve jangling experience.
But what do we do to protect that back line then? Like, if we have that back line, I mean, what can Celtic do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is Zorro going to protect him on his own, or do we do like something like I said, maybe put Liam Shaw in there and maybe sacrifice another attacker? You know, or is that the way to go? Like Mikey said, attack him, get the goals, but then I still can see us concede goals as well. And will we actually concede?
Go for it.
Know?
As we saw, Mike both said it. Mikey said it. That they weren't that good a team. We should have beat them. So, and I said that before the first game, keep them in their own half, keep us on the front foot and them in the back. That way the defence isn't going to be in under any pressure or any pressure. So go there, attack them for the get-go and see if we go 2-0 up, then start to think about
closing shop up, yeah. And maybe then bring on maybe Liam Shaw then and shut up shop then, Mark, do you know what I mean? You know? But my main concern too is for Dick's next game is the strikers' role, because if Edouard turns up again like he did with Midtjylland and even against West Ham yesterday, he's not going to get your goals, Mark, either, Edouard, do you know what I mean? You know?
Oh, no, if he puts that in the kind of can't expect for him. I mean, that's the thing, Bob, we showed earlier on about why new teams have that interest in him. It's just no. I mean, why would you want even you've got to think as well, if you're looking at buying a player, why would you buy a player that's going to come up with that attitude of things only going their way?
Like, this has to be, like, looking at Edouard, like, there's no doubt in his ability as a player. Do you know what I mean? Like, what Edouard in his day, Mark, is an outstanding striker, but it has to come down to his attitude, Mark. Maybe why these teams aren't coming into him. Do you know what I mean?
Even down to like his work
Yeah.
that, Paul. He doesn't. He's no running about chasing balls down and things like that.
Yeah, because when I said about that, Mark, like, people were saying they were comparing him to Bobrikov on the Twitter and all the media stuff. But Bobrikov got your goals. That was Bobrikov's style of play. He got your goals.
Look at Berbatov, right? Even his body, his size, his body, and that. Edward's an athlete. You wouldn't look at Berbatov and say, "Oh, look at the size of him." And, do you know what I mean? He wasn't a big muscly kind of player.
Do you think Edward would be more suited to Ange's style of play, Mark? Would you?
Just down. I mean, for me, Edward's an athlete. So there's no reason for him not to be this moving about, running about, and putting in effort.
Especially the way Ange wants to play. Like, the players are going to be making space. Like, and the space is going to be there now for Edward to make, because the players opened up so much, Mark. You know what I mean? Our team will open up and they'll make the space. It's not as if Edward's going to be isolated now. Like, do you know what I mean? There's going to be players around him this season, and he's going to get the ball. But Edward's not making that effort to get himself into space. Do you get me?
Oh,
you know?
I know exactly what you're meaning, Paul. And see what the sides we've got, the likes of Abada.
Exactly, they'll make that space, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
Edward, if Edward did, we're saying about a contract, see if Edward did sign a contract to stay here and suit everybody kind of thing, and Edward put an effort, Edward would thrive
Exactly.
with these players, the chances these guys are going to create
Because
with the box.
we were complaining last year, Mark, that he wasn't getting the service. But the service is going to be there next season with Abada, and you have Fukuhashi coming in now as well. I thought that wasn't too bad, I suppose. He's coming as well. Back they're going to make the ball go to Edward, but it's up to Edward. And what I've seen of him, Mark, he's just not taking it under his wing to be at Celtic, like.
No, it's obvious he doesn't want to be here.
No.
If he does stay, whatever, whether it's just an extension, whether we don't even give him an extension, but he's got to up his game.
Exactly, Mark. It doesn't matter if he wants to be away or thing like that. He still has a job to do, and his job is still at Celtic. But that's the modern football today, Mark. Isn't it? It is like,
We knew Ayer was going away. We knew he wanted away for a year. But
he's still in the shift.
Any fault in the shifts that Ayer was putting in weekend.
Exactly. But then it's coming back to the difference then in Ayer or Edward. You know what I mean? It's a big deal. Like you said, Mickey, after the game, Lee Griffiths would have missed those 1-on-1 chances that Edward missed in the first leg against Midtjylland. He would have missed them.
Maybe they can throw Griffiths in the second leg then, because at least he's safe for getting booed, is he? So, and that might be good. That might be good for the guy, yeah. Maybe just play him away for him. In Europe, you'll not get booed so much, yeah. So maybe get a bit of confidence back in him.
Mark, at least, do you know what? At least, Griffiths would run and he'll chase down the ball for you. Something that Edward isn't doing, and the way Ange wants Celtic to play, Griffiths would do that shit for you. He'd run that. Like, we don't know how fit Griffiths is, but I presume that he is fit because of he was training. But as you said, Denmark, he hasn't been playing much under Ange. Is he up to speed? The way Ange is playing, that's the concern there as well.
Although he probably was keeping up with his fitness, he still missed 2 or 3 weeks. His actual tactics and learning stuff and that. But I don't know. I really don't. It's a mind boggler for me.
I'd love for Griffiths to come on the midweek and score the winner. I would love it. Actually, I'll probably put a wee side bet on just the.
But that's just coming down to then, like how the police in our squad still is at the moment, that we have to play these one-away strikers. Like I can't understand why Yeti isn't played instead of Edward at the moment, considering how good of a pre-season he had. So, am I thinking now maybe Ange doesn't actually rate a Yeti to be his number one striker?
Well, then it's up to them to get another striker in.
Striker 8. Exactly.
I was going to say, but a Yeti's going to be there long term.
Exactly.
Get a Yeti working with the team and working with Ange, rather than a player that doesn't want to be here and we expect to be moved on in the next couple of 8 weeks or whatever. 4 or 5 weeks into it left in the window, but why not play a Yeti?
I have no issues with that, Mark, because I think Yeti's a different player and he's like a new signing from what I saw of him on pre. And I say he was gutted last week that Edward got the nod over him, and I still maintain that was down to an influence of Kennedy in that backroom staff. And I'm gonna blame Kennedy here, Mark, and I have to, because
maybe it was Peter Lowell.
Maybe it was. Welcome to Peace and Ormond, because I've him down as well here to chat about him as well. But Ken, that's why I think it's so important, Mark, that Ange has to have one of his own backroom staff in with him. Do you know what I mean? He has to have someone who he can throw his ideas off, and for his own backroom staff that knows Ange's ideas, not to have fucking Kennedy bringing on the likes of Beaton and bringing on the likes of fucking Edward. Do you know what I mean?
But who was he going to bring on instead of Beaton?
Oh, that's two tugs. We've no sense.
That's what I mean.
That's true. Well, I can understand why he played Beaton, because we've no Leinster.
But then the choice was either Beaton or the boy
Young Murray,
or Leo Helder, him.
Yeah, Helder. That's it, McGinty. Helder.
Just Helder.
Yeah, I broke it. Do you know how I remember that? Because I remember the Griswolds when they were going to Germany and they went into the wrong house, and the one's name was a big fat German, Helder. So that's how I remember it.
That's Helder. H.
I say Helder, didn't
But is that just how you pronounce it? Helder? The J.
Elja, yeah.
That's the J that throws me. But that was the choices. It was either Beaton, Murray, or Helder. I can't go to that. Helder. So,
and that's why you
but
could see
pick
the
Beaton.
extent for Beaton. Yeah, exactly. You could see that, like, but then, like, for Beaton, then one of our most experienced players to do something so stupid, Mark, like he's really put young Murray in a situation here, Mark, that Celtic fans now are already going to judge him if he makes a mistake next week against Midtjylland when the young fella's only learning. Do you know what I mean?
In 2 years' time or that, folk will still say, but what about that time you're in Midtjylland?
Exactly.
Aye.
And that's going back to, Mark, what you were saying about these young lads getting their chance too early. Like, you don't mind them coming on if the game is being won and stuff like that, but this is a game that Celtic need to win. And the young lad must be really feeling the pressure already, I said. Do you know what I mean?
Well, seems to be quite a level-headed kind of lad, didn't he, sir? You'd like to think you'd be experienced players even in the squad, even if they're no playing. I'll be, do you know what I mean?
Like, he's not going to come up against a striker again, Mark, in Antonio against Midtjylland. You know what I mean? He's not going to come up against a striker like that. Like, so, like, he did play well in the second half. Now, I must say that he did play well in the second half when he came on, and I give the young lad that he did play well.
No, his
But we're lucky.
his performance does give you a certain amount of confidence that he could hold his own against Midtjylland.
But we're lucky in the way then as well. We're not coming up against a striker with the calibre of Antonio. Do you know what I mean?
No,
You know?
I think what Celtic are going to find lucky with that Midtjylland is they're as slow as the back
Exactly.
as they are up front. Like, they've not even got any pace up front either. You know what I mean? Like he says, that was a freak goal that scored. That was the only way they were going to score that night. Yeah. But going back to Ayeti, and like Celtic fans are like no sure on that. He scored nearly 10 goals in 20 games for Celtic, with 90% of them for the bench. And in his purple patch at Ball, he scored 30 odd goals in under 60 games. So he's on the same strike rate that he is for Celtic that he was for Ball back in the day.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
It's also
I can't understand, Mikey, why we're not playing him. Do you know what I mean?
Well, if you got a strike on the bench that scores 1 in every 2,
Exactly.
how are you not playing him?
Exactly. You know, I definitely would have Ayeti played next week, Mark, rather than Edward.
I'd start
Without a doubt, like, you know what I mean?
Wednesday. And see if it's not working out, put Edward on then.
Exactly. Like, there's no issues from the top half, really, because you have full confidence in the attacking that we have at the moment. Like on midfield, the start that you have Zoro, McGregor, and Thornhill. I mean, that's what we said last season, that would be our kind of starting three anyway. Like, and I came out then saying, and I saw it there on the form, that Zoro isn't good enough.
Well,
That's Zoro isn't.
Me and Mark were talking earlier about the midfield, and that's actually if
The strongest
Celtic
point.
tomorrow that they weren't signing any midfielders this season, I think most Celtic fans would say that's fine, because
Exactly.
I'm quite happy with the midfield. They need strikers and defenders, Well, maybe not even strikers. Strikers depending on if Edward leaves.
We said that earlier.
Are we going back to that,
So
Mark?
they need defenders and a
Are we
goalkeeper.
going back to that, so Mark, with the deal with Ivan Toney, that he would have been signed if Edward would have left? So if Edward stays, we're not going to sign a striker, do you think?
Oh, that's a toughie again, Paul. I wouldn't be surprised. If Edward stayed, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't sign any.
Didn't sign a striker,
Wouldn't he?
exactly. And
I
then
didn't see a point.
the problem,
No, unless you
the
were going to be playing with two up front. You don't need
exactly.
3 first strikers if you're only playing with 1 striker up front.
If they've got Griffiths, like you say, Yeti and Edward, and if Edward's staying, then again, if that's the case, then they've got the forwards and midfielder, especially with that Abada and the Japanese guy coming in as well.
Still get Forrest. Hopefully Dembele's going to still be here and getting a wee chance in that as well. I mean, we said it earlier.
I'm gutted for that young lad, to be honest, like Dembele. I really am gutted for it. Yeah, gutted for him, like, because I think he would maybe started on the right against Midtjylland, and Abada might have been playing on the left, or maybe Abada wouldn't have been starting either, Mark, because it was really
I don't think
too early for him.
Dembele. I honestly don't think he'd have started Dembele. I think Christie was always starting that game.
Mm-hmm. And Christie actually looks better on the left than he did on the right last season. Do you know what I mean? You know,
Did the other night, but I seen somebody in the live chat saying that earlier as well, that he looked better on the left.
Amazing that for a left-footed player, eh?
But it's,
What a shock, eh?
but Marcus scored to what?
again, it was just down to his attitude.
He wasn't
Exactly.
interested last season, yeah. It's amazing
But
how
that-
interested people get when they're in the transfer window, eh? Amazing how good they end up being all of a sudden, eh?
But that's what I'm thinking, Mark, is
Boris used to turn the style on when he was due a contract extension, wouldn't it?
It's true.
so that's what I'm saying. Is Christie maybe up in his game, Mark, to get that move away, and Celtic are actually playing for Christie's benefit? You know?
Yeah. Nah, no, I don't think. Well, look what they did to Scott Sinclair. So I don't think they've got players at heart, like when it comes to, like you say, has he got
We've
6
no
months
choice
left on his
really than
deal?
to
Is
play
it a
on
year?
Mark. So we don't, because our squad at the moment, we've no choice really than to play Christie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we do need some experienced players within the starting lineup. I mean, and at that moment, our experienced players kind of next to none, really, aren't they? You know, like who is there experienced players at the moment? We have Forrest, McGregor, Beaton. You can't really put Zora or Tornell in there for experience because they're only in the club not even a year and a half, I said.
Well, Sorrell's hardly played many games for us. See,
Exactly.
he's that experience for as a player for us and that, but we've got Forrest, Christie, McGregor, I just say
Edward.
Tone, Edward. I'd couldn't be Edward as experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And Parkhurst is experienced as well.
But I mean that we've said it, like we need some experience in the defence. But apart from that as well, it's just a case. It's a good kind of mix. Do you know what I mean? You've got to keep the younger players in the team and the experienced guys lead them and show them the way and things like that. And we've got enough experience. Again, maybe another centre half. But I mean, even the right back, you take a young guy, the young boys you're talking about for Antwerp, you take him as your first choice right back. And he's only a young lad. So as long as there's players in these, see like what you've got defence, midfield, and attack. As long as you've got a bit, one or two guys in these places that have experience, the young guys will learn off them.
Mm-hmm.
In a modern game, again, it's still the Scottish League we play in. It's not a necessity as such. I mean, some of the teams I've had over the last couple of years have been some of the youngest teams in Scottish League history. Like the average age of winning.
Would this be the youngest centre back pair in Celtic had going into a match? Welch and Murray. Would that be the youngest centre back pairing I think we ever had? I said it's not far off. I say, is it?
I'd say it would be.
Yeah, friendly, yeah.
You know, it is like a. Do you think maybe Radisson can improve on the Ange, or is he at that age now, Mark, that he's just not good enough for Celtic?
Just no good enough for me.
You know, and do you think maybe
Be one of the biggest turnarounds in football. Ralston turned out to be a decent player under Ange.
Mikey, do you think the reason he got the contract was because we actually don't have no one else there at the moment, and he was the only recognised right back at the club?
If that's the case, then that's just selfish from Celtic's point of view and just holding the guy back yourself, eh?
It's a Sinclair situation, isn't it? And the worst thing is that he's a younger guy that could be a way out.
Well, I mean, Ralston struggled in the Championship with Dundee United, didn't it?
Yeah, you yourself and Jonas were saying that, like that he actually struggled down the like he's not at level Celtic should be, and I don't even think he's good enough, Mark, to be even at like sort of Aberdeen, Kilmarnock or Motherwell, is he? Or is he just be?
Yeah, I think he is. I think you're talking. Well, Aki's aren't even in the Premier League now, but you're kind of Aki's or St Mirren or something like that.
Think of all the positions that we need as soon as possible. The right back and the goalkeeper for me are the two musts. Do you know what I mean? Definitely,
that makes it worse about that Aurelio Buta. That's mean that they're penny pinching a bit.
Exactly.
At the right back.
But it's such a must area, Mikey, isn't it?
Yeah, but like I says, I just want to touch on that Leo Abada that they signed. They said it last time, but after seeing him a few times, I mean, he's a dead ringer for Sinclair when he first came like that.
Mm-hmm.
That guy. Honestly, I think he's going to score a lot of goals as a winger. Like he finally signed a player that could be a bit exciting to watch on the bar.
That gives you that wee bit of something special.
Yeah, just somebody to watch and stuff. Like, see, don't get me wrong, I like watching Forrest and that when he cuts in and that, but like he just looks like he's a breath of fresh air at Celtic. Neither there.
Zach, he looks like a player like that. He's not afraid to take on. Like he's aware of his own ability, isn't he? For such a young lad to have that confidence, like his.
What's good about
like, isn't it?
What I like about a winger as well is when like even if it went against Midtjylland, it's normally the striker that would be on the end of any like rebounds or that. But look how quick he was onto that.
Exactly.
I mean, he's only training a couple of days, and maybe not even a couple of days. He looked sharper than nearly everybody on the pitch.
And I actually saw that too in the second half when Forrest came on. Forrest again cut in with the ball. Do you know what I mean? Forrest isn't running down to the byline anymore. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Over the years, has Forrest actually lost a bit of his pace mark and that he's maybe not able to do that anymore? You know?
Did you ever really do it?
No.
He was always more inclined to take it inside, but wouldn't he?
Yeah. You know, the best time he saw.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And, like, Forrest is a fast player as well. Like, Forrest should be outrunning freaking half the teams in Scotland, like with his speed, like, you know what I mean? And he just doesn't use it really to his benefit, like, you know, like I think Forrest's position is on the first choice if we play Abada on the right, you know, because I think it's going to be Abada and Kyogogu, the Chinese lad over on the left, you know, that's what I think the two winners will be next season.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to annoy all the Japanese listeners here, like that.
Half a billion people listening to his raging.
What did I say?
You said Chinese.
Ah, sure, Jesus. I'm not going to say they're all the same because they're not. My mistake, my bad.
Well, like I say, Abada, I think he will come into the left. Like you said, I think he's dead.
He can play both wings, yeah. I think that's the best about him, like that he can play both positions, Mark, isn't it?
Well, can you not play through the middle as well?
Yeah.
It seems to be one of the and bespoke the other night.
He kind of got a free roll, like, didn't he? Yeah, he was kind of everywhere.
Players that can interchange amongst us, like the attacking midfield three, seems to be players that can switch about during the game and be as comfortable and as good in either wing or through the middle, which is a good thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Forrest again, we've said it when Paddy Roberts was seeing things like that.
Best football.
Somebody chasing Forrest, he's keeping him on his game and keeping him fit and sharp, and that'll either do him a good or he'll be sitting in the bench.
Exactly.
We go back like Helga and that Helga. How old is that Leo Helga? 18?
I don't think he's 18 yet, I think he's still 17.
And then we're looking at Leo Abada. He's only just 19.
Exactly.
That goes to show you, like, yeah, he's, like you said, at his last club, nearly 24 goals in 60 games for a winger. You know, like, this is Scottish football over again with this age thing. They just see a young age and you think, oh, he's too young.
That's the problem. Like, if age shouldn't matter. If you're good enough, you're good enough, and you should be playing. Do you know what I mean? And if Leo's good enough to be playing, he should be playing. Do you know what I mean?
Like you said, it seems to only be Celtic that thinks he, like you said, he is 18. He's away to turn 19, the same as Abada. That Leo Helga.
Aye, 26th of August, aye.
Yeah.
18 in August, aye.
So I mean, so he, like I says, he should be in the first team now, playing if he was as good as what everybody thinks he is.
Exactly. So, see, that's the problem, I think, that I can't understand with Celtic is that other teams seem to see all young players as being good enough to play with them, and we don't have it. I mean, like, if Leo's good enough to be playing, he should be playing ahead the likes of Murray. Do you know what I mean?
But there's a lot of fans out there, Paul, that see the promoting the youth players as penny pinching for the board.
That's it, yeah. You're not going to please them then, aren't you?
But it is, as Mikey says, Celtic fans are some of the most fickle fans in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going about, we want to see the Celtic white promoting youth players up. But the minute they do it, a couple of mistakes, they're not good enough, he's garbage. That's the board spending money.
Well, that's them, Mark. That's them just contradicting themselves again, because they were humming and hawing over this backline. Like, this backline is a young line. We're constantly complaining that we're not promoting our youth, and when we do promote our youth, then they're hammering them. Fair enough, the lads are young, they're making a mistake, but this is the first time that young Dane Murray came up against a striker mark of the ability of Antonio. Do you know what I mean? You know, he's only going to learn off this match. Do you know what I mean?
It's his second or third game, Paul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a pre-season friendly.
And he wouldn't have came up against these lads down in the youth systems in Scottish football, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
Oh.
Well, if these guys were actually filtered into the first team when they were meant to, then they would have had experience playing against
they would have been
Edward
ready.
and
They'd have been ready.
Dembele and
Yes, they would
all
have
the
been
kind
ready.
of players in training, yeah.
See, that's the problem, because it was the young Ireland under-21s manager Givens said that Luke O'Connell wasted 2 years of his career at Celtic because he was being held back in the reserve teams and he wasn't being given a chance in the first team. Let's go back to what you said there, that if these fellas were being bred into the first team when they should have been, they would have been ready to play now under Ange. Do you know what I mean? That's just
thing, like you said, you tend to do a wee bit of research in the background. We're on about Forest. I'm actually a tad worried for Forest, based on just the signings. Like that Puriashi and everything. Like they're all wingers, eh? Abada and that coming in. And if Ange's signing these guys, where's Forest going to fit in?
That's what I've just said as well, Mikey. The players we're signing and the way they cannot switch between the three.
If Bawz doesn't up his game, Mark, he's going to be on the bench, yeah?
You need to work hard because we all know he needs to work hard, doesn't he?
But Mark,
looks the fittest kind of guy.
The only time when we saw Forrest playing well, Mark, is when he had a real tread on the top, Paddy Roberts. Do you know what I mean?
That Puriashi, he scored 50 odd goals in 90 games in the J League. In the J League, like you say, we've talked about Mark and that, and if Celtic fans actually go and watch it, it's as good, as no better in Scottish football. What
do you call him, Mikey? What you say his name was?
Puriashi.
Puriashi. I think he's going to be some signing, Mark, that.
I think he could make a man. I mean, put me.
Yeah. We're going to be too fast, and that's why.
Exciting players.
That's why, like Abada only 19, the Kyogo Furiashi only 26. Good ages, like there's a balance to everybody they're signing. They're not just signing like normally Celtic.
You'd even say there, Mikey, Kyogo's an experienced coming in at 26-year-old, played in the J League.
Exactly.
So he's a more kind of experienced player.
Japanese international as well.
He scored 3 goals and 6 for the right wing for Japan as well.
Like that's what I was saying, Mark, too, at the weekend with John on, like just get through Wednesday's game, get through that, what has to be done. By all means, just get through it. Doesn't matter about the scoreline once we get through. But the minute Ange gets the signings in, Mark, and the players he wants in, and when Celtic adopt properly to the way he's style, no one in the Scottish League will handle Celtic, like, because the pace of the football that we're going to play, it's going to be unbelievable, I think. And it's going to be football, Mark, I think we haven't seen at Celtic, even under Brendan Rodgers, Mark. I think it's going to be better football than we've seen at Celtic for a long, long time.
Well, I hope you're right.
I hope so too. Are you going to come back to bite me? But
we'll blame you if it is.
But it will, though, Mark, because
it's still
he can't do it now because, yeah.
Said all night, but the key is coming down to breaking down these teams at Park the Bus. Because Lennon didn't, even towards the end, Rodgers was struggling to do it.
And that's how he will do it, Mark, because he's bringing in players, Mark, that can play in different positions. And these players are going to be moving. And because they're moving, Mark, the defence is going to push up to mark these players. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's going to open up the space then, like, do you know what I mean? That's how you break them down, like, do you know what I mean?
The ideal scenario.
That's how Guardiola breaks down these teams, Mark. And Ange has the kind of same philosophy on the Pep Guard, but it's actually his philosophy is actually faster than Guardiola's. Do you know what I mean?
Paul, did you do a transfer roundup at the start of it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned the guy Christian Lovric.
No.
Well, he's another winger for Croatia, and Celtic have just bid $4.5 million for him. Again, he scored 40 goals in 80 games as a winger, and he's a Croatian internationalist. So again, that against States does Ange see Forrest as
not good
part
enough.
Of the plan?
could do.
Maybe Forrest doesn't fit into that
Yeah, see, is Forrest too slow, Mark, for the way Ange wants to play? Is he too slow? That's what I'm saying. Is Forrest's legs nearly gone? One dimensional, Mark.
2-1 fit it, aye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Aberdeen can play with 2 feet, Mark. Kyogo can play with 2 feet, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
That Lovric as well, that they've just been, it's all over the internet if people want to go and check. Christian Lovric, he's 25, he's meant to be outstanding as well. He's again left or right wing. It seems to be a pattern of guys that can play anywhere across the top line, so it looks like it's just going to be an interchanging system.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I think next season, like that, because players can play in so many different positions, Mark, that the start lineup maybe they will say, no, like you're marking Aberdeen. Then when the signings come, the players come out, Aberdeen could be on the left. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that was the kind of the other week we were talking about. Brendan Rodgers changed the team lineup so that nobody could tell the formation of it, and Neil Lennon carried it on. So as you said, managers will be looking at the opposition team sheet, but they'll not know where these guys are going to play. And 10 minutes into the game, the next thing they've all switched position.
Just sums it up like he says, but I know it looks like it's pretty much what we're looking for with a. Like he says, when we played our best under Rodgers, it was Roberts and Sinclair and Forrest with Dembele, good wingers cutting in and scoring goals. We've not had that in years, since then. You know what I mean? Like you say, Forrest has always been injured. Sinclair I wouldn't even say went off the boil. The way that he was treated for Celtic was a disgrace. And like I've said it to everybody millions of times, you can't have a good team without wingers, So this is boding well for me this season to an extent. It looks like we're going to have a good few on the books.
William Smith there in the live chat says that he thinks we're missing a free kick specialist, and that one of our new signs can be like a dead ball person. I think that's an area too, Mark, that really needs. I think that we need someone who can actually put in a decent cross into the box.
The actual setting up pieces, up and the execution of them.
Yeah.
Mikey were talking about that today as well. When was the last time we scored for like a corner? Mind about 2 or 3 games before the end of the season, we scored for a corner or a free kick.
It's been a long time, Mark. I actually can't remember.
That's what I was going to say. Just about maybe 3 games before the end of the season, we scored a corner or something, and it was the first time for months. Nobody could remember the last time.
No, I remember that.
Well, no free kicks. We're set pieces, and that would be terrible for the last couple of years. There really just seems to be any thought in them or nothing. There's no originality. There's just nothing in them. Even a basic take a corner.
Exactly. We can't even beat the first man. You know, and if we do beat the first man, it's gone over the bar or something like that, isn't it?
Wait, like you say, the guy that I just mentioned, Christian Lovric, that they just went and bid for. Wait until you see this guy take a free kick.
And was he valued at then, Mickey, roughly?
Again, it's the usual for Celtic. So the club have already says that they'll no go for anything under 5 million. But I think Celtic have bid the day 4.5 million.
That's an accepted offer then.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying about you can get a bit lower and try and meet a bit of middle ground. You don't get 1.5 million below you.
And then you could put add-ons then onto that, Mark, then can't you? You can put add-ons onto that then to make it up to 5, like
Well, Lovric, he was part of the Croatian team of the Euros as well. He never came on, but he was part of the team. So, like I said, Croatia never had the best tournament, but
like that could have.
That team.
Like I said, that as well, that the Euros could have an effect as well on transfers as well, because like we don't know who Celtic targets are. Like the targets we're looking at there, exactly the point there Mikey's making. Lovric, like he was part of the Croatian team, Mark. You know what I mean?
If you go with like what the pressing that's been reporting, and then the fans have jumped on it and says, it's the same targets we've been after for under who have we signed that we were leaving under?
Exactly.
Do you get what I mean?
Well, Lovric, Abada and that, they've never been mentioned ever, Well, that Buta, Aurelia Buta, no chance.
I'm just looking at the forum there, Mikey. The first mention of Lovric was the 1st of November 2019. Kev boy. I don't think that's a different Kev for Kev 83. Saw a rumour on Twitter this morning about a Croatian guy, Lovric, but there was nothing to substantiate it. I mean, that's just, again, somebody probably on Twitter saying that's somebody we kind of should sign. They're one for April 2021 talking about him. But again, all these young players, it's just Celtic, they always kind of link to him, but people are coming up with that, saying it's all players that Lil was looking at, and think, but we've not signed anybody like that. And even
No.
they're not wrong with that.
The guy scored nearly 40 goals in just under 80 games for the wing. You know what I mean? It's what we're crying out for, eh?
But like, Mark, I've no
6'1" winger.
I've no issue, Mark, with Celtic leading off Peter Lorne to use his contacts for Celtic to get players. We used his contacts to get Abada, didn't we? That agent. It was through Lorne's contacts that he had with his agent. What did do?
Well, that's kind of get that connection at Celtic, really. But
Exactly.
I mean, I moan about it because there has been a lot of dodgy players that he's sent our way and that.
Exactly.
It's like, but I don't think Dude is actually Abada's agent. I think it was Celtic that asked him to just broker the deal for them.
Wow.
I've looked at the.
But that's said.
No,
Their contacts, Mark.
Sorrow's one of his clients. I didn't know that the other day. That Sorrow's one he do the hands clients. But Abada isn't actually registered down as one of his clients.
I want to talk to you about Zorro, Mark, right? Because, and I've seen this a few times there now, and I've seen on Twitter, a lot of people are saying that Zorro actually isn't good enough and he's not able to fill Scott Brown's boots. And I'm looking going, what match are you watching? Do you know what I mean? What game are you physically watching here if you can't see Zorro actually speeds up the game when he's playing for Celtic and he's breaking up the play?
For me, it's a totally different player for Scott Brown.
Yeah. Do you mean? He's not.
He'll pick the ball up and he'll carry it forward, and that Brown.
Yeah.
Scott Brown wasn't interested in doing anything like that.
I think people want Zorro to get the ball and slow down the game and play and pass it back to the defence, like.
And if they want to play that game, we're just going back to a Neil Lennon or a John Kennedy setup.
Exactly.
And
like Zorro's fast, like he's fast, Mark. Do you know what I mean? He's fast. He's a fast player, like.
I don't think don't know how anybody can say that Zorro's a bad player.
Yeah.
Like Ange obviously is a bit of a pace merchant, which is that I like it. Like you say, it's because pace wins your games.
Aye, exactly.
Like, that's what Zorro is. Like, he moves the ball, Mickey, doesn't he? He moves the ball fast. Like, he doesn't dwell on the ball. He moves the ball fast into the space, into the wingers, and that's what Ange's trying to do. To move the ball fast up front.
Young Roy Keane.
Yeah, move the ball fast. Can't this Keane, right? But how people can criticise Zorro from what I've seen in Mark, I was looking and going, what game are you watching, like? You know?
As well, Paul, he's hardly played many games. Give him a chance to get into his rhythm.
He's only setting it in, Mark, yeah. This is like, you can't say really, Mark, that Zorro is a new signing because he was nowhere near the first team last season. Do you know what I mean? Nowhere near the first team.
And Welsh only got into the team because Julian got injured.
He would have been in the team, Mark, only for Julian was injured, yeah.
Zorro only got into the team after the Dubai stuff, went.
Yeah.
So it does.
And then
didn't he put a foot wrong and was dropped? Like young
Barry was saying that, Sean. I think Barry was saying that, like how they can justify dropping Zorro for Brown, like and it was all down to favours to him, really. Like, want this, you know?
Well, I think it's harder. It's wrong, and it's harder to drop a player that's playing well.
Exactly.
Playing well. If you're going out there and making mistakes and playing bad, right, everybody can have a bad game, but one game, right, fair enough. But if you're playing bad for 2 or 3 games, you get dropped. But there was players at Celtic, and I'll even put McGregor into that kind of category. I think it was just he needed a break, right? I'm not saying he down tools or any attitude problems. I think he just ran himself into the ground that much. But McGregor needed a break out that team.
Definitely, and he needed to start playing alongside Scott Brown as well, Mark.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
But when Sorrow came in, Sorrow should have kept his jersey. He had his wee bad running a couple of games. And by that time, Brown would have been champing at the bit to get back in the park.
Exactly. Like, Mikey, go back to Callum McGregor. Like, when's the last time you saw him scoring goals for Celtic and actually being inside the box or being outside the box waiting for the ball to have a shot?
That's what I mean. That's what happens when you play him further up the pitch, though. When you've got somebody in that, like he says, he was always running back the way last two seasons rather than forward. Like say, when you've got Sorrow in there beside him, you leave Sorrow to be the dog, and you just let him, like he says, him and Turnbull get forward. I mean, football's no hard.
You know that Sorrow's going to be that. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to just sit there and pass it 5 yards to the right for no apparent reason, Mike. He's going to, for what you see him, he's going to push the team forward and drive forward himself.
I think people mark that. Sorry, Mikey, go on.
No, sorry, it was just a wee bit off topic. I'm just looking at James Forrest. I actually rate the guy. Yeah, I think he's been a good player for Celtic. Well, if I was to say to you that Georgios Samaras had a far superior goal scoring record as a winger than Forrest, would you think that I would be right?
A goal scoring record, I would probably.
Do you know what? I like Samaras. I did like Samaras.
I've got a bit of stats, like you say, it might bore people and that, but I think it keeps things interesting. So Samaras played 150 games for Celtic, scored 53 goals, 1 in every 3. And Forrest has played 100 games to the day more than Samaras and only scored 7 more.
But even, see what you're saying about stats as well, Mike. I looked them up and people were linked with James McCarthy, and for some reason people seem to think James McCarthy's injury prone, which is just, it's a fallacy.
Yeah. One bad injury, Mark.
He's had wee injuries here and there, but he's only had one bad injury. And Forrest has played about the same amount of games as James McCarthy.
I remember I just flagged something to me, Mark, when you said earlier about Lovren, it's kind of being 6'1".
Aye.
And I remember Samaras playing 99.9% of his game kind of as a left winger off the left.
I never forget the goal.
Like says, Samaras, like he says, back in the day, like he says, I don't think he got the credit he deserved when he was at Celtic.
No, I never forget the goal he scored against Rangers from the halfway line. He ran the pitch, remember that?
Yeah,
he ran the
He was like a kind of cult figure, wasn't he, Samaras?
Yeah,
he was. Loved him or hated him, idea. But he never let me down. He never, do you know what I mean? He made mistakes, he was a bit clumsy at times, but he wasn't a bad player for Celtic.
He couldn't be, like he says, he's got a record for Celtic, like he says, mostly at the left-hand side. He's got a goal in every 3 games. No bad for the biggest winger in history.
I agree.
That must be about the same as Sinclair.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mikey. I think Forrest could be in trouble next season. Like, I really do. Like, looking at it now, like, going by what we're seeing of Aberdeen, like, would you drop James Forrest on this precise moment for him? And, I definitely wouldn't, like,
Going on, Mark. Scott Sinclair's basically scored a goal in every 2 games for Celtic. 100 games, 40 goals.
Aye, right.
That's some goal scoring record there.
Aye.
But Mark, that's what you want your wingers to do as well, Mark. Like, you want them to score goals.
He was here longer, so that's probably affected that to a kind of certain extent. But when you look at the I wouldn't have thought that, Mikey. That's quite interesting that Samaras done that.
Yeah, like I said, 50, like I say, is a goal every 3 games for Celtic. Sinclair was a goal every 2 games, and James Forrest is like a goal every, like 6 or something.
If you were even talking about the best left wingers, you would never ever consider putting Samaras in that category.
And like I said,
he's goals, he should be sniffing about that kind of area.
Like you
were talking about earlier, Paul. Podcast. Mind we done our best Celtic 11 things in that when we first started dating them. That wee showing we do what we sort out were just best ever. Do you know what I mean? Put teams together, come on and talk about it and things like that.
There'll be a lot of players, like you say, there's a lot of older guys in chat as well, but there's a lot of younger guys as well, so there's a lot of players that would be mentioned in that show that people probably wouldn't need disrespect to the guys that are in the old. They wouldn't even know them,
I don't know them for playing FIFA and things like that.
And that's better. And there's probably guys that, like you say, play FIFA and that have seen like icons in the game and they thought, like, what is that? Like Yashin and everything, and goalkeepers like that. But like he says, I've played manager games and football for years. I kind of all the older players and that, but there's a lot of guys that don't even kind of who they are. Like one of my nephew's mates, and it was funny, me and Mark were talking about earlier, asked me who Luther Matthäus was. an Ebbet fella.
Jesus.
I mean, 150 caps for Germany, and the young guy didn't know, I'd never even heard of them before.
Jesus, that.
But see, even the thing about that, it's like, see, when I was younger, believe me, there was a hell of a lot less football on the telly when in the back, like late 70s and 80s kind of thing. It was like sports scene and match of the day, highlight shows. That was really all you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Get
yeah.
going. But I knew these players for all about the world. Do you get what I mean? But you saw them in the World Cup and things like that. But if you followed football, and maybe it was doing to make, as you're saying, sitting playing football manager games and things like that. But I knew about these players before World Cups came about.
I remember.
Young people today, it's again, I think it's all centred in, if you've not played in England, it just doesn't matter. That, to me, that's the kind of attitude of, like, the younger generation of fans, like football fans. I'm not saying there'll be Celtic fans that are Celtic fans, but in general, they can't see beyond, like, the English league.
Hmm. I remember growing up, and I remember playing the football, man. And Mikey, there was an American lad, and he used to always pop up as a hot thing. Was the fella Freddie Abdul? Do you remember him?
Yeah.
And he never kind of came big, really, did he? Freddie Abdul, like this fella was all over football, man. And you end up paying £2 million for youngs. That time was crazy money to buy him. Like, well, that just goes to show us, like, that. As Mark's like, the young players actually don't know the league outside England, like, you know what I mean? And that's why I think Ange gave it to credit to Mark when he first came into the scene, wasn't it?
Freddie Adu still playing.
Is he?
I think he's at his 60th club or something like that.
32-year-old he is, just turned in June the 2nd there.
I say this fella's worth a fortune, Mark, without signing on the fees, I say, is he?
Osterlin. I'm not even sure where they are now.
Sweden.
Is that Swedish? Aye.
Yeah.
Because I used to always sign him. Anytime I went for FIFA, I always signed him.
I mean, he played with Monaco. Well, fair dues, it was only a loan, but it was Benfica, Monaco.
Jesus.
I can't believe he's still playing, to be honest. I thought he must have been about 40-year-old by now.
Me and my dad were talking about a player back in the early.
He's played for 15 teams in 9 countries.
Me and my dad were talking about a player back in Italia 90 that came on the scene. I was only 4 at this time, but I get a story from my dad, and it was Mark, you'd maybe kind. It was a guy that played up front for Italy that after the young that Gianluigi Lentini.
Aye, he was the most expensive player in the world.
Yeah, so he signed for AC Milan for 30 million.
Aye,
it worked out. He's in a bad car crash.
Aye, but it worked out. It was like it was 13 million pound, but it worked out. It was like some 130 million lira or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I can remember that, and he was in a.
Was it the same with
Did they ever play again, Mikey?
He played after it, but he was just basically after that. He was just finished basically.
Finished. Yeah, I was finished. Robbie Keane was another player who made millions off. He signed on fees, didn't he? Robbie Keane.
I thought
Player.
I remember Rob. He's a good player in that, but like you say, I think when he signed for LA Galaxy, it was in 2011 he signed for them, and he said in the press, like he says, I've laughed about it in the past, that it was always his dream to play for LA Galaxy, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? Like, I mean, it was always his dream when he was younger to play for LA Galaxy. Is he going to actually sit there, and their fans are taking that crap in, like, every conference he sat at, he said, it's always been a dream.
Aye, I mind that. But I mean, Keane played. I mean, I can't remember him playing with Wolves when he first came onto the scene. They went to Coventry, and that was a bit of a weird move. But then he went to Coventry.
Yeah. That's what I mean. He went Wales, 70 odd games, 30 goals. Coventry, a goal every 2 games. Then he went to Inter Milan, played 6 games, no goals. Then he went to Leeds, like he's out.
Was that where he played with Inter Milan? 6 goals.
6 games, no goals. Then he went on loans to Leeds, and then banged them and signed for them permanently.
I mean, see, when you look back at his goals record, I don't know if you're sitting looking at them and making. It wasn't that prolific.
He scored 250 goals in 600 games.
That's not really.
Who's this?
Robbie Keane.
What? for
That in his career, Mike, he said.
his career, yeah, Jesus.
I know for the wages that he was getting.
No. That's what I see. I'm surprised at that. I thought he'd have a lot better record than that. Was that there, Mike, about 1-4?
But he's a prime example, Mark, that it doesn't work out for players on a certain team. It never worked out for Robbie Keane at Liverpool. You know,
Robbie Fowler had a better goal scoring record than Robbie Keane.
Who was that? Who, Mikey?
Robbie Fowler. He had a better goal scoring record than Robbie Keane.
Young Robbie Fowler, he was one of the best strikers I've ever seen in my life.
Dangerous, like that.
Well, see, that's the problem with Liverpool. England, Mark, is that they born out these youngsters so young.
Well,
that's what they do.
Mike alone as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, they born them out, like, and that's what happens to them. These English footballers, like, they just born them out.
But Alan Smith as well. Alan Smith in the early 2000s when he came, he was looked like the boy Matt Jansen at Blackburn as well. That was on the motorcycle crash and that. Like England have had like he says, there's a lot of pressure on them when they first come on the scene.
I listened to a podcast with that Matt Jansen, and he was talking about he was due to go to some World Cup with England. I think it was Sven Goran Eriksson was manager at the time.
That would have been Japan Korea 2002.
He didn't find out he wasn't going. After Eriksson talking to him on the phone and telling him he'd be part of his squad and all that, he found out he wasn't in the squad on the radio and never heard from Eriksson again. I'm sure it was Eriksson. And then, you know, about the crashing that he had, I felt half sorry for the guy, do you know what I mean? Because he fair dues, it's England and we don't like them, but he was that proud that he got this chance, and then he didn't even have the minerals to phone him up himself and say, hey, to get in the squad. I can't remember who it was he took stadium. That's a sad story with that Matt Jansen, Mike. He
spent 6 in a coma and that. Yeah, he came back, but again, he just went on loan.
Some player too.
Like I said, he scored 50 odd goals in 150 games for Blackburn, so a goal every 3 again. So,
in English Premier League, if you're kind of strikers getting that kind of numbers, you know you've got a player.
I still maintain that back in the early 2000s, the English Premier League was a lot stronger than it is now.
Oh, without doubt. And it's just gone back to badge management under England, picking the names, players by their names, rather than picking the best players in the possessed positions. Gerrard and Lampard never worked as a pair. Do you know what I mean? And that was England's downfall for years.
But I mean, see, even down to the signings and that. See, it's foreigners that add the kind of panache to the English league.
And that's affecting the English national team, Mark.
Well, that's what kind of Italy. That's what went wrong with the Italian football. And that, Mike, you'll be old enough to remember that as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Foreigners that we were bringing in, and it was them that were making the league better.
So the young lad that's signed now for Manchester United, Mark, Sancho, had to go to Germany.
Aye.
Do you mean?
But between the two of you now, would you say there's any English player in that Euro squad that you would put in your best in the world 11?
No.
No,
that's not me. That's not me just because I didn't like England. It's just me saying it as a football person.
Nothing. I mean, they're all going about this. Oh, Jack Grealish. The English manager didn't rate him enough to start.
No. One of the best English teams I saw was the Euros. Was it 96? I think it was this? When they had the likes of Gascoigne, Seaman, Tony Adams and all them playing. That was one. And how they never won that, Mark, is unbelievable. But that's just going down to the manager picking the players by name.
No, David, that was down to attitude.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. They can't play as a team.
That to me, I know what you're saying. England had a right good chance in that in Euros '96, but that generation with like the Nevilles and Jamie Redknapp, Frank Lampard, Gerrard. Do you get what I mean? John.
He had that Dan Anderson as well. He was good as well.
Aye, but between these years, England did have at that time some of the best players in the world. But they play as a team.
Just come play as a team.
They're always going about Gerrard and Lampard and that. The two of them in the list, Paul Scholes.
Paul Scholes is one of the best midfielders in the world.
You know what I mean? That's what
Without
annoys me. Scholes doesn't get enough credit. It's always Gerrard and Lampard.
Because
Scholes, they wouldn't list his bits.
but that was down to me, Mikey, that was down to like a public profile, down to that Spit Boys kind of thing, because Paul Scholes never bought into that.
No, he didn't, Mark. He didn't. No, he didn't.
He's always a wee quiet man. Even
Quite lad, yeah.
Beckham and Ryan Giggs were all the kind of pin-up playboy kind of Man United.
Yeah.
Scholes was never.
Ryan Giggs was only
Like I said, if
gallivanting. That's what he was.
If Zidane comes out and says
Exactly.
that he's the best player he's ever played against, that's good enough for me, because Zidane's
Even
the best
Roy
midfielder I've
Keane-
ever seen.
Even Roy Keane says it, Mark, that Paul Scholes was one of the best players he ever played with. Roy Keane even says that Paul Scholes was one of the best passers of the ball at his time.
Even when we finish up the night, even go on YouTube and look at the goals that he scored.
Yeah.
You know, Scholes doesn't get the credit that he deserves for his actual. And see as well, because I don't think he does any punditry or that, or maybe just now and again. He's not even get that public persona now that people will get, even like look back misty eyed. Oh, he was some player when they really weren't. Do you get?
Mm-hmm.
I think what because I like, because Man United was always a team that I wouldn't say I split but if I needed to pick, I would be. There's always been them in there, and like they're going about Gerrard and goal scored. Paul Scholes didn't take free kicks or penalties for Man United the whole time he was at Man United.
It was the worst penalty kicker in
You know what I mean? Gerrard and Lampard took everything.
That was a kind of running joke with them. Paul Scholes couldn't hit a penalty.
Obviously that.
Saw goals for open play, goals that created for himself, some of his volleys for just the edge of the box and things like that.
It was like Nakamura for Celtic, was it? Like he says he can score a free kick from 40 yards in, but give him a penalty and he's fluffing it like that. Like against Spartak Moscow in the penalty shoot, he was in that missed as well. So, I mean, it's ironic how that works. Like Scholes could, like that goal, I think it was against West Ham, and I think it was Giggs put a corner out to him on the edge of the box and he smashed it the first time. Underside of the bar and in.
Exactly.
Aye.
But the guy can't take a penalty.
Moving on before we go, lads. Is that the starting lineup against Midtjylland that we saw in the first half against West Ham? Do you think is that going to be the starting lineup? You think?
Just a question mark your barcast, but for that field 10, I'll say it'll be the same 10, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, like he says, it will be the 11. I hope, like he says, that. Not hope. Like if Barkas gets the chance, I just hope. Like he says, he's not had a good time. Hopefully, he has a good game. Like he says, even if he has a good game.
I'm not dissing Barkas at all. I just want him to. Do you know what I mean? I would love for Barkas to turn into a good goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? I think all of us would here.
Well, that's what we said. Paul,
yeah, but you see, if you keep a Mark making the same mistakes, Mark, like, you know what I mean, you have to question his goalkeeping abilities. Like, do you mean, like, fair enough if he was young. Like, I thought he was actually younger, Mark, and he was saying he's 27, 28, Mark. He's at a stage now, Mark, where he should have had learned from his mistakes and he should be peaking as a goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? You know?
Well, that again, Paul, it's just everything we've said before. I've backed him, you backed him, Mikey backed him.
Yeah.
And not just, it's came to the point now we can't make any more excuses for him. Someone needs to. I mean, I agree, Paul. I hope it's even if he can come away with a clean sheet and he doesn't even need to make a save, that will even help.
Exactly. It's just a clean sheet, Mark, that needs to help him, don't it? Yeah.
Just take him off the park and not concede any goals.
Any goals.
And like,
Before we go.
Of course, it's a penalty. Again, you're not expecting your keeper to save penalties, but we can't have him letting in, like, making the mistakes as we saw like yesterday. And
I never had a penalty conceded against me.
Bollocks.
No, I didn't.
Give up, Paul. Like he says.
I was never.
I think Mark knows what. I think Mark knows what we're going to say here. So next year, I'll be putting together the charity match, right? And hopefully by then our restrictions are down. You can come across. And we'll put you in goal and we'll see how you get on then, eh?
I have no issues with playing in goal, lads. Well, I won't last a full game, I tell you that.
Well, there you can be a sub to your Paddy then. You see,
you know,
when his knees are showing that, you can go.
I was actually never in a penalty shootout. Never.
Well, you never even gave away a penalty.
Oh, I gave away penalties, yeah, but they weren't scored.
You saved them all.
I saved him, yeah. I
I
tell you
can't wait
that.
until next year now.
I'll score against them next year.
You win your pal.
Crutches and everything. I'll put a penalty past them next year.
I hope now you're
What was I
not
going
one
to
of
say?
these fans now just because you're on crutches for me to let in the goal, yeah? So they can all cheer.
Mikey will be, he'll probably still be on them as well.
Well, yeah,
What is the update, Mikey? Yeah.
my left leg.
What is it, Mikey? What's the
That's the
update?
same as mine because I've half done for gutties.
What I was going to say before I go as well, if anybody's wanting a decent watch tonight, if they're into the final of the World Match Play Darts is on tonight, and Peter Wright, the Scottish guy's in the final. So if anybody's got bored or that, tune into the darts because that'll be a good watch. It's just started just now.
Is a woman commentating on?
Don't know, like I say, that's a sore one for me, that in Mark. See, tried to get me digging there just before I left. See.
What is the update in your leg? What way are you on your leg now?
Sorry.
What is your leg now? What way is your leg now? What's the update? Are you walking it? Are you still in crutches or?
I've still got, like you say, them in the house, but I've been, like you say, I still needed to go to work in the middle of last week, but I got a shot of a car to an automatic, so I'm going to drive that again and see how I get on. Like you say, but it's still pretty bad. Like you say, the bruising still it's pretty black. Like you say, there was a total rip of the hamstring, but like you say, it's a 3.
Oh.
Yeah, it does. Like, and the problem is like that. You have to walk. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I gave up football is because these young lads were coming into the league and they were probably going to school or college. Like, you know what I mean? I had to go to work the next day. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the problem. Like, that Mickey has to go to work. Like, and it's probably delayed your recovery, Mickey. That you really have to rest it. Like, you know what I mean?
I think that was the point, like you say. I think that just gave him probably a kick up the rear, and a lot of people said that didn't want to put off. I was meant to be going back for another season again to play one final season back, but that's kind of just put us off going back for 1 year.
Are you
Because, like I said,
aim for a charity game next year? That's what you're aiming for.
yeah, that's what I said. I think what me and Jonas and that were speaking about was, I think we're going to get that 5-a-side started again that we did pre-charity match. I think we're just going to keep that going. Like you say, if we can play 5-a-sides for an hour once a week, that'll probably ease my fix anyway.
Yeah, I hope there's another pandemic or flight restrictions next year, so I don't.
Well, like you said, you've already talked it up now, Paul. So
That's
like
it.
you said, that's it.
Already after I challenged him for a penalty shootout with my one leg.
Like I said, and yeah, once you see Paddy in the goal, you'll see what, like, because Paddy's actually a top goalkeeper. Like it says, like it says, I don't think the other guy would mind the same, but in the charity match, out the two goalkeepers, I think if I was to pick one, Paddy would certainly be the one that I would personally take for the team.
Say that one, Mark.
After he's went back to playing, Mikey. See last
Yeah.
week, that's the first game he's played in months. His knees are knackered.
Yeah, you noticed that near the end of the game.
He used to play up front and he moved back to midfield and his knees were knackered. He kind of stopped playing then decided he'd be a goalkeeper.
Because I remember, like he says, when I scored this goal to make it 2-0, and I thought he was ready to go and hit a free kick, like
What did I tell you? He went home.
Yeah, you said that he's going to go like that.
Him raging that night. Even when my wife phoned in that to talk to him about it, he was still raging about it. He went back some team. What's that team? Patrick went New Stevenson Celtic. A new team that had asked him to play for them. So he went back and that's him started playing again.
He's a good goalkeeper. You're able to tell that he was a good goalkeeper right from the start. Like he says, but Paul's better, so we'll see him. We'll see what happens.
Didn't say I'm better. I said I'm a good goalkeeper.
I'll even get Paddy's wee boy, wee Patrick, to score a really get your redneck.
That's it. So
The wee boy that came on at the end, Paul. Mind the wee boy that did score the penalty.
That's my neighbour's son, yeah.
Bring him up as well.
Hopefully, like next year, that more people actually get involved. Like, you know, that Mickey's done it now. Do you know what I mean? And if they keep it going for a year, Mark, more people should be getting involved in it. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, a lot of the thing was, Paul, see a lot of the guys on the forum and that, they're all older. So they're right away, no playing.
But even if they're coming off the stadium,
Rob Roy and that, he was wanting to come up and watch it just a wee day out. Even wee Kenny, a wee mate that played, his wife and Wayne's were wanting to come. Patrick's girlfriend and Wayne's were wanting to, do you know what I mean? There'll be more folk allowed to the stadium, so it'll be a lot bigger and a lot better the next year. I don't mean better, there's anything wrong with it, Mikey, you done brilliant, you know that, but
But I said the same. Like says when I think what it could have been with the restrictions.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking.
That's exactly that.
And I think next year, whether everything going smooth, like he says, and it's not even a joke. I don't think we'd be far off near enough filling the stand there.
No.
Like one of the side stands behind the dugots.
Easy.
I wouldn't be too far away.
I think we'd do that quite easy.
So,
Plenty of folk through here will come, don't I mean? We've already spoke about it with all my wife's family, and they'll have charge through. A bit worrying. But of course, when we come here, we just need to get the police sitting outside.
And we'd have to set up some commentary as well, like, don't we? We go to a bit of commentary, yeah.
Something like that going as well.
actually, see, that's what I was hoping to do this year, but then I needed to be realistic about what was going on in the world.
Oh,
the
yeah,
fact that
like that's what held it back, Mickey, yeah, exactly.
The fact that we even got it to the stage where it was outstanding anyway. But like I say, next year will be even bigger, and like I say, we'll just raise even more money, and this time it'll be for cancer. So,
And well, as I've said, there we'll get commenting live on YouTube and things like that. It'll be easier to set up.
We'd be like
folk that know what they're doing. To get
we'd be like the two lads in Lean Machine, Mark, myself and you, commentating on the match.
Two boys up Waldorf and Startler out the Muppets. Be more like them, or Jack and Victor.
Jesus. That's it so for tonight, lads. Thanks to you on the live chat, and thanks for Mickey again for joining us as always. If you were sweating in your beds tonight, listening to us tits on the Celtic Rumours TV, Skpe will look after you. 20% off all products with free shipping worldwide with our code Celtic Rumours TV at manscaped.com. The Bawz and Bovril podcast with a big voice hangout. Mark will now close the show.
Thanks very much, for everything. Thanks again, Mikey, for coming on and joining us. Everybody enjoyed the live chat. I hope you all enjoyed it. And again, subscribe, share, like this post, like the video, share them on your social media, and try and build it up, get more people involved in it. Good night, lad. God bless and hail, hail.
I really hung myself out to try there, didn't I? Coming out to play in the match.